Today, I'm honored to introduce you to my dear friend, Brad Jensen. Known as the sober bodybuilder, Brad has an incredible story of overcoming severe addiction to becoming a world leader in health, fitness, and personal development. I met Brad in 2019 and quickly developed an extraordinary friendship. Brad is a father to the most adorable 5-year-old boy in the world, and he's one of the most kind, empathetic, and hardworking individuals I've ever met. Brad, welcome to the podcast.
Dude, let's just end it there. That was so good.
That's it. That's the podcast.
That's it. It's like George Costanza when he leaves on a high note. That's it for me. That was great. Thank you, bro.
Dude, I'm glad.
Awesome.
I'm very glad to have you here.
Me too. Dude. I'm stoked. I've been waiting for my invitation for like 2 fucking years. I'm not even kidding. I was like, oh, cool. Now Joel's been on it. Oh, there's Danny.
You're here, bro.
I'm here.
First question.
Yeah.
Who are you?
I am a father. That's being a dad is probably one of my most prized roles I get to play in my life.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a leader. I am a man in recovery. And I think I'm like a pretty decent human today.
I love that.
Oh, and I like health and fitness. See, like that's not even the first thing that comes to mind. If you would ask me that 7 years ago, I've been like, I'm a bodybuilder. There's nothing wrong with that, maybe.
That's why I like asking that question, because you never know what you're going to get. And I feel like when people watch it back in years, it'll give them an opportunity to say like, oh, that's what I thought I was then, but now this is who I am now.
Yeah, it's true.
So it's nice to hear how people sort of define themselves in this moment.
It was a banger right off the bat there.
What is the most common misconception that people have about you?
Ooh, I think by first appearances, I've had a lot of people say, oh, I thought you were like going to be a douche, but you're actually a pretty cool dude, which I get, like muscles, tattoos. I can understand that a little bit. I mean, I got like a low V-neck and I changed my necklace twice since I've been here. Like, come on, you know what I mean? I changed and Jordan's. I changed my shirt because I flew in and there's something about like a flight and it was muggy and I sweat.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm going to bring a change of shirt. And then I just happened to have a change of necklace. And he was like, did you change your necklace? It was too short. I think a misconception is that, I think twofold. One, that I think people are surprised, that I think they look at me and think I could maybe be someone with a big ego, and I think they find out I don't have one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in regard to the ego, I think one of the greatest things about you is you are always open to changing your mind, which is, I can't say that about everyone. You are always open to hearing other opinions. You're always open to constructive criticisms, and you're always open to say, oh, I never thought of it like that. Which I love about you, which is very unique and a great quality.
Thank you. Sometimes I feel like that quality has shot me in the foot a little, because sometimes I'm like, dude, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for everything type of deal. But on the same token, when I actually look back, there are some sound principles that I don't change my mind on, what I think is important to me and how you should lead as a man. But when it comes to things with health and fitness and politics and like whatever, fill in the blank, I think people that think they know everything end up, I mean, those people are not people that generally have people gravitate towards them, you know?
I think even with, whether it's politics or whatever, like when you have a certain belief, I think you can have important principles that mean a lot to you, like a set of morals and ethics, and even that we could get into that philosophy. I'm reading a great book right now by, I think his name is Daniel Haidt. It's called The Righteous Mind, Why People Are Divided by Politics and Religion, talking about what sort of morality and often where it comes from and how different cultures have different moralities. But I think morals and principles typically will stay relatively the same. I think they can change, but also understanding that ideas and that reasons and looking at behaviors, being open-minded to changing those, and not being so set in like, this is why, and this is pure, like this is it. Being open-minded to also hearing other people's perspective, which you're very good at.
Yeah.
So it's important to have things that you very strongly believe in while also be able to say, I want to hear why you believe in this, and being open to that is, well, not necessarily meaning that will change yours, but at least open to hearing it, which you're very good at.
Well, thank you. And people like you that I respect, I'm more happy to listen to, but even people I don't, sometimes I'm like, well, that makes a lot of sense too. Let me look into that. Yeah, man, especially with fitness, it's kind of crazy how nutrition has become like almost political.
Yes, not almost.
Which, like,
it is.
Dude, I defended seed oils in a post.
Yeah.
And people said, I didn't know you were a liberal. I'm like, what? What?
Yeah.
Like, this is crazy.
It is crazy.
Like, it's gone that far. But people, and those are the people that get so set in this identity of whatever political party they are that they just kind of follow suit, and they're like, seed oils are bad. And it's like,
yep.
It's crazy. I did not expect that. But it makes sense that it's very polarized, and those kind of people are the ones that struggle to change their mind.
Yeah.
You know,
if I criticize something that RFK says, I am labeled as like a liberal snowflake. And I'm like, hold on. Number one, not even number one, just period. I have no allegiance or loyalty to a party or an individual. I have allegiance and loyalty to the truth.
Yes.
And if you aren't okay with your quote unquote enemy doing something, then you shouldn't be okay with your ally doing something either. And for me, I don't care if it's Trump or Biden or Obama or Bush. I don't care if it's RFK. I don't care who it is. If they say something that's wrong, we should call them out on it.
Exactly.
Especially if it's someone that you otherwise maybe ideologically agree with.
Mm-hmm.
If you won't call them out just because they're on your side, that's a big fucking problem.
Yeah.
So in the same way that it's like, if I say something wrong, number one, I want other people to correct me. And I also want to come out and say, hey, I made a mistake. I shouldn't have said that. I misquoted. I got something wrong. And for whatever it's worth, politicians at this point never apologize. They never say they were wrong. And I think there are many reasons for that, but I think it's because as soon as someone comes out and apologizes, the other side will then go and say, you're terrible. Da, da, da. They never accept the apology. It's like, if you want to make apologies more common, especially among politicians, then stop eating them as soon as they apologize. You should be like, hey, thank you so much. Really appreciate you coming out and apologizing. As long as we continue to say, see, you're fucking evil. Da, da, da. It's like, when someone apologizes, we should accept the apology, not accept the action. The action should be scrutinized for sure, but at least accept and appreciate when someone goes out of their way to apologize. Because if you don't accept it, then they're just never going to apologize. They'll double down. They'll dig their heels in.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And if they apologize, then that's them admitting that they were wrong, and the other people will use that as ammo against him.
Yes, exactly. Yep.
And so they just don't.
Correct. It doesn't work for them. It's like, well, why would I apologize if I'm just going to get eaten up again? So I'm just going to double down. Pretend like it's the other side's fault.
Even if they know they're wrong.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what the PR people will tell them. They're like, no, don't apologize. They tell them because it's not going to work out well.
Yeah.
So what is something you used to believe but no longer do?
When it comes to health and fitness?
Anything.
First thing that comes to mind with health, I mean, there's so many. I did some content a couple of months ago on a reel of like stupid shit I used to believe that I've changed my mind on.
Yeah.
And I mean, there was a number of things that I was really big in like this eat 6 small meals a day. I mean, I was convinced it sped up your metabolism. And I told people that.
Mm-hmm.
I was wrong, like very wrong. Like, remember the Body for Life book?
Yes.
I worked at this place when I first got sober, that we did these like meal plans, and then they had supplements that we were supposed to sell. It was such a gamma, dude. I was like, what am I doing? And they modeled it after the Body for Life book. And I just took his word for it. He was like, yeah, like you have to give them 6 small meals a day because it speeds up their metabolism. What a fucking lie, dude. This is bullshit. I also used to be a really clean eating zealot. I mean, dude, yeah, like rigid on my food. And then I found out that's fucking orthorexia. That it's not discipline. That's the disguise that I used because I was so scared of going off my meal plan. And listen, I looked like a chiseled specimen. I was taking extracurricular shit too, and but my relationship with food was so bad. But speaking of that,
that's like
content creators that don't admit that they've taken steroids, you
Yes.
can't fucking stand them.
yes,
Or some of them I get, they're like, well, I don't want to talk about it. So they just don't say anything. But then the ones who blatantly lie, oh man, sorry, I'm going off on a tangent.
Please.
Sheps. that I think is so misleading to people.
it is. Yeah,
Like, I'm not the most jacked guy, but I wouldn't be the size I am had I not done steroids. And that's just the truth. And I also paid for it in a lot of ways. Behaviorally, I hated who I was on it. My blood work was awful. I felt like shit, but I was jacked, you know? But the truth is, I probably wouldn't be the size I am had I not done them. And so I think it's so misleading when these people are not telling that I've had a great before and after probably a couple of years ago. I mean, dude, one of the best ever. But he got on a huge cycle throughout the whole thing. Unbeknownst to me, I figured it out like 3 weeks in. Well, this isn't normal. It's like, oh yeah, I'm taking a little. And it was not a little, it was a lot. And at the end of it, I said, bro, the only way I can post this is if you give me permission to say that you took some gear. And he said, no, absolutely not. I said, cool, then I can't post this.
yeah,
Because people are going to look at this. That is in 4 months, what you did would take people probably 4 years and they still wouldn't be that grainy and vascular. Like, I can't post this, which sucked because it was really good and I really wanted to, but I felt like it would have been disingenuous to not admit that and I get it. It's his personal life. He doesn't want me to go say use steroids.
of course, yeah.
I think everyone
That's
knew
his
by
right,
looking
yeah.
at him, but, okay. Things also have changed my mind now. Back it up. Beep, beep.
Well, that's also why I very rarely post any before and afters anymore in the last few years, because even if someone's not on gear, as you know, like every single person's response to nutrition, to training, everyone responds differently. And we can even look at this in terms of genetic response to different types of training. Some people will have a much faster response to mobility training than others. They'll just their mobility, just genetically, they will respond way more quickly. Other people will respond from a more muscular growth perspective. Some people build muscle way more easily than others. Some people will respond better to cardio. We all have genetic advantages and disadvantages. And I realized it's like, if I post someone who had this amazing transformation, even if they did everything right, worked insanely hard, didn't do any gear, it will give other people the impression of like, oh, that's what I should expect. And if I don't have that transformation, then something must be wrong with me.
Yep.
And so that's why when I post stuff about the inner circle, I typically will post written stuff from people in the group who are like, hey, this has helped me X, Y, and Z. Occasionally I'll still post pictures. I'm just super proud of my members. I'm going to share. But mostly I'm like, what has this group been able to help you with? And in their written articulations, that's what I tend to value more, because no matter what, you can't take away the support of a group, the support of a coach. Like no matter your response, we're going to be there. So that's why I've strayed away from the physical transformations, even if they are natural.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I've had that backfire on me with clients going, well, I remember the one you posted and I'm not there. And I'm like, yeah, like also totally different body, age, structure, genetics. But so I get that, dude. It's a fine line when you're like proud and then they feel like proud that you're posting them.
Exactly. They really,
but also I just did one this morning. That's fucking funny. I was just like, but I was 2 years I've been working with this lady who's 62 and she is, I mean, she's completely transformed her body.
It's incredible.
I mean, we went through phases of intentionally eating more food for the first time in her life, building muscle. But even when I do that, sometimes I'm like, yeah, but also, and there's another caveat. She was like, uber disciplined.
Yes.
And her life set her up for that. She's an empty nester.
Yep.
Not married, no kids. Like she has kids, but they're all grown.
Yeah.
She could just dominate. Whereas like my other client is like, they got 3 kids in the house. Like it's a totally different life.
Yes.
So it's not just that some of these people are so much more disciplined. It's, one of the biggest bullshit lies that I used to say, speaking of that, was we all have the same 24 hours.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Till I had a kid. Like, fuck that. We do not have the same 24 hours.
Dude, having kids is wild.
I mean, you're going to have, when I first met you, it was just you and your wife living in New York City.
Yeah.
And just you two. And then now You live in Dallas. You got a third kid on the way. Like your life has
That's
completely changed.
Yeah, dude. It's completely different.
By the way, your daughters are my favorite. They're so cute.
Thank you, dude.
So cute.
They love you. Dude, it's I think anyone, if you don't have kids, logically understand. Yeah, it's tough. It's more difficult. But even me, like, I'm horrible with responding to text messages. I'm horrible. And I was horrible before I had kids, but now it's even worse. And like, rightfully, I've had some people get upset with me, like, dude, you never reply. And I'm like, I'm so sorry. I'm like, truly, I am so sorry. And I just need you to know, like, every minute of every day is crazy.
Yeah.
Like it's nonstop. Like when we were outside before we started recording, literally minutes ago, blah, screaming. My
Dogs
daughter's
jumping.
like, I poop every day. I fart every day. They're screaming. Curtis is jumping all over the place. Cool, let's come in here. Now we start recording. As soon as this is over, boom, blah, it's going to be crazy. And then also, I don't want my kid's memory of me to be me holding my phone, replying to all these text messages.
Bro, yeah.
You know? It's like, and I love you and I appreciate you. And I hope that you can understand that my love for you is not dependent on replying to text messages. I will always love you and I will be there for you as soon as I can. But also, my family is my number one priority, which means I'm going to put my phone down and I might not reply to you for 2 months. And I'm really sorry, but that's the reality. And if you can't accept that, respect. I don't know if I could accept that either, but that's just the reality of my life.
I accepted that with you. I understood because I'm similar way. Let's see how many I got now. We got like 120. No, not that. Yeah, 100. Okay, a lot.
Yeah.
And some of those are just like people hearting messages. I should probably just go through them. But the reality is I do get back to a lot of texts, but not as good as I should maybe. And I don't know if should's the right word, but it's the same thing, dude. Yeah. I have an advantage over you that when I don't have dominant, because I have 50-50 custody.
Yeah.
People are like, oh, you don't have Dom right now, huh? Because I'll respond back. And and then when I have Dom, if I'm not working, I'm trying to be present with this 5-year-old.
Yeah.
I am really working on not being on my phone because he doesn't like, Daddy, can you put your phone down? I'm like, oh, it just broke my heart the other day. He said, Daddy, you're always on your phone. And I was like, oh, dude, I'm going to cry right now. I was like, no, it's okay, buddy. He goes, I don't like it. And I was like, oh.
That's a reality check.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not what I want him to remember. It was probably a month ago. And honestly, I've been significantly worse at responding to texts since then, and I don't give a fuck.
Good.
Because I'm like, I can't.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to. I pick him up from school, and I got a few hours before I put him down for bed. And I'm just going to play with him. I'm going to spend as much time with him as possible. And I've told my clients that. And they're all cool with it. But I told them, hey, listen, if I'm not as prompt on these times, sorry. Like, I just can't.
Yeah.
I'm only going to get this time once with him. And it's like you said on the phone the other night, it's not going to be too long where, you know, he wants to just play with his friends.
Yeah.
And like,
but then also it's like, then they're like, okay, so what about after you put them down? I'm like, okay, well, after I put them down, number one, I'm fucking exhausted. Right? Like it's really tiring. And then it's like, well, also now I have work. Now I've got a workout. I'd like to be able to get a workout in without replying to all my text messages while I'm working out. By the time everything is done, it's like midnight, 1, 2 in the morning. I've got to get up really soon. Like, listen, I love you, but life is crazy. And this is a relatively brief season of my life. And like, it's not worth it for me to be prioritizing text messages over this time with my family.
I respect that, dude. And because you don't want that, I mean, I hope your daughter never says that to you. Like, it was stung, dude. Yeah. And it was interesting when he first said it, my first inclination was to get defensive. Like, no, I'm not. I'm on it far less than I used to be, which is true. I've done better. And I was like,
argue with your 5-year-old.
Like, I don't think I want to lose an argument with a 5-year-old. Yeah, no, you are. I don't even have a phone. I'm like, but then I paused and it hit me, and I was like, okay. I said, you're right, bud. I'm going to do better for you, okay? You're totally right. Because I think the old me would have said stuff like, well, hey, daddy's got to work, and like, this is how we're moving into this new big house, and it's going to be nice. Is like, I just, no, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And I am so grateful that through my recovery, I learned to make a proper apology and not have to say the word but at the end. Especially to your kids. Not, well, but like, even when I've maybe snapped on them a little, which honestly is very, very far and few in between, But I noticed one time I had a tendency to apologize and say, but you can't act like that, which is true.
Yep.
But I'm working on just apologizing, period.
That's it.
Then later, when we're going to bed, saying, hey, buddy, remember how you started screaming like that? We got to work on that. Like 2 separate instances.
Love that.
Instead of just like blending it into one.
Yeah. Because it takes away from the apology.
Yeah. I want him to know I'm sorry,
I love that, dude. That's amazing. Let's talk about, I want to hear your story.
Yeah.
Like full story, starting from when you were a child, how you got into drugs and alcohol, and then what led you to eventually become sober. I would love to hear you tell the story.
You don't like the cliff notes because it's long. We'll do semi-short.
You can keep it as long or short as you'd like. Whatever you think is most important, whatever you're comfortable sharing.
Yeah.
I know we have a lot to discuss, but whatever you'd like.
Yeah. I'll sum it up in the shorter version by hitting the key points. I went on Mind Pump and I was like, wow, I talked for 90 fucking minutes about this. I was like, I think we did it for like 60. And then the last 30, we were like, okay, let's talk about fitness, Yeah, I mean, listen, I grew up, I'm the youngest of 5 kids from what was then a Mormon, like an LDS family. I'm from Salt Lake City, Utah, so kind of fits the bill there. That's most people. And, my family's actually not, my dad's the only one still active in that religion now. So, but at the time we all were. And so I wasn't, Mormons don't drink. They don't drink fucking coffee.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Yeah, no coffee. Yet they like pound Red Bulls, whole different story. Pounding Bang energy drink, or what do they call? Is that what they're called? The
Bang energy. Yeah, I hate those.
I
love energy drinks, but not Bang. I don't.
300 milligrams is too much.
It's too much.
But they drink all those, but no coffee, no booze. We were middle class. We weren't poor. We weren't rich, but I had everything provided to me. And I share all that I used drugs with some people that I'm thinking you never had a chance. Like dad was in prison, mom smoked crack, and like, the first person to use drugs with was their, mom or dad. And
jeez,
I didn't have that. I was raised really well, but I hit this little chubby phase about, about 12. Sorry, 12 years old. I just started eating, and really, I think that's where my first love came. Was like I would veg out on food while playing Nintendo, like a lot, a lot. And I just wasn't growing at the rate I should have been, so I just hit this phase of being pretty chubby, and I started getting picked on by my friends, and it sucked. It was like, it wasn't like I was like shoved in lockers, and people were like. Most of the other people left me alone, but my friends, because they'd been friends with me since like 7 or 8 years old, would be like, "Oh, look at Tubelar," and they'd like grab my little boobies,
Yeah, it's the worst.
And when we'd go swimming, they would make fun of me, and it was awful.
Yeah.
And so right around that time, my friends, they snuck in some liquor to their mom, the basement, whatever, from their mom's liquor cabinet, and they're passing the bottle around. And I remember thinking, like, I can't do this. Like, it's not how I was raised. And then it got to me, and it's a typical. Yeah, I remember I took a swig, and it was Jack Daniel's whiskey, the first time I ever drank. And I remember when I drank it, I thought, why the fuck would adults do this? It was so bad.
Yeah.
And about 15 minutes later, it all made sense, right? I was like, oh, this is why. And during those times that we would like be able to sneak some liquor, I found I like played this Chris Farley Van Down by the River, remember I like Matt Fulton.
Yep.
And they started laughing with me, and they thought I was funny instead of laughing at me. And so I just associated getting drunk would loosen me up enough that I could kind of be the star of the show. And instead of having them laugh at me, laugh with me. And they were like, "You're funny when you're drunk," And so that continued. And that was kind of what my introduction was. And flash forward many years later, I got into to bodybuilding when I was like 16. I finally got into health and fitness when I was like 15, started running, started dieting, lost a shit ton of weight while I hit a growth spurt. So then they made fun of me of being too fucking skinny. Like, come on.
Kids are brutal.
You're brutal.
Kids are brutal.
Called me Lurpy. And I was like, Do you remember that term, Lurpy? Lurpy's such a good word. We should bring it back. Anyways, around that, I quit drinking because I started going to this gym, and I would hang around these older guys that were bodybuilders, and they're like, "Hey, you need to quit drinking. Like, you're too young, and if you want to like build muscle, I mean, they probably scared me on purpose." So I quit drinking altogether. And it was a couple years, it was about my junior year of high school. It was the first time I got introduced to pain pills. And we went to a party, and it's interesting how, and I've shared this so many times, but high school's kind of a fog. Like I remember things, but I remember that night vividly. It was a split level entry house. There was red Solo cups, brown cabinets. I remember that kitchen like it was the back of my hand. And we had taken some pain pills before I went in, and I never tried them. And he's like, "Just you're gonna love them, dude. And it's like not bad for your muscles." So I was like, "Oh, cool." And the minute they hit me, dude, I had arrived. Like I was in love. I was so euphoric, and with opiates, it's interesting how you hear people have a surgery and they're either like, "Oh yeah, I like them. I had to kind of like not have any more," or they hate them.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem any in between. Do you hate them?
I've never tried them.
Oh, you never had to?
Never.
Oh,
Thank
no.
God.
Yeah. I mean, even like my brother had a surgery and he was like, "Oh, I might have the same thing as you," because I had to tell my wife like, "Hey, pack those away." But then my sister takes them and she throws up. She feels like shit.
Really?
So anyways, I took, and after that, dude, it was just off to the races. From the minute I ingested those, I knew that I wanted to do more of them, and I did whatever I had to do to get them. And by the end of my senior year, I was selling pills and addicted to them. And I didn't really understand how addicted I was because I always had this constant supply. And so I had like, for like 3 or 4 months toward the end of my senior year, I was using OxyContin. That's back like in the, OxyContin's not even around anymore. Like that was like 2002, 2003. And that's when there was a lot of pill mills. I don't know if you remember all that. Like OxyContin was an epidemic.
Yeah.
By the way, there's a really good show on Hulu it's called Dope Sick with Michael Keaton.
Okay.
It's not a it's a show, but they were basing it off of how that time when OxyContin was just rampant. And so I didn't really realize I was addicted. I knew I was using them every day, but man, those things you build up quick, a physical addiction. And at the end of high school, I thought, you know what? My mom said, "You got to go to school." And I was like, "Why the fuck would I want to go to school? I hate it. Like, I hate it." She's like, "Well, you got to do something." They had no idea that I was using.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
They knew I drank. They thought I drank, but it wasn't drinking really.
Got it.
And so I got my personal training certification. I started working at Bally Total Fitness. Do you
I remember Bally. Yeah.
Fucking neon lights and shit. And I was one of the youngest personal trainers ever hired. I was 18 years old, and I was like, "This is what I want to do." And my mom's like, "Cool, just do something," right? And I remember my supply ran out, and I thought, you know what? I got to clean up my act anyways. Like, well, I'm just going to keep doing pills the rest of my life. I knew I might get a little bit of withdrawals, but I severely underestimated it. The withdrawals hit. I ran out of them, and I said, "Okay, I'm just going to kind of be done." And I was so sick. It's the sickest I've ever been.
Really?
Withdrawals is like the worst flu you've ever had. Probably like how you felt recently. Didn't you have the flu?
I had a horrible flu, yeah.
For like weeks.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still coughing a little bit. You can hear, yeah.
Would you run like a fever though and like body aches?
Yep.
Like that with like almost a borderline panic attack. And for people who haven't had anxiety that bad at all times, the physical sickness is one part of it, but this gaping anxiety of like, I mean, you panic because your body just needs it so bad.
Yeah.
Heart rate's racing. I'm sweating and I was so sick. I did not think I was going to be that sick. So I made a phone call, and this is, I'll just kind of flash forward through a lot of these years, but I made a phone call to a friend. He said, "Come on over. My brother's got something," and that something was heroin.
Oh, jeez.
And I remember, dude, there was this line in the sand I'd drawn where I'm like, I'm not going to heroin. Like, that's like a next level shit. This isn't coming from a pharmacy. And it took me all about 5 minutes before I was like, fine, just give it to me. So I shot up heroin for the first time as an 18-year-old. And for the next 10 years, dude, I just spent in this incomprehensible like state of demoralization. Like it was just, I look back at those 10 years and, I was in and out of incarceration. And it was after I took the shot that his brother, who is passed away now, he patted me on the back and he said, "Sorry, kid, your life's never going to be the same."
Oh my gosh.
I get chills still when I say, and I was like, "Oh, how am I going to keep?" Certainly, I'm not going to keep doing these. I had no plan how I was going to stop, but I just wanted to feel better that day. So I ended up for the next 10 years. The way I can just sum it up, I went to jail 17 times. I spent a lot of time in incarceration. I went to 6 different rehabs. The fucked up part about it is I didn't just use for 10 years straight. I would try to get sober because I hated who I was. And then my parents would put me in a nice rehab. And I mean, I found out later they like refinanced their home, took out a HELOC. Like I had no idea. And I'd go to these nice treatment centers and I would get a little bit of time and everyone would get their hopes up again. And I would start getting buff again. And I would, think I had it. And, it's hard to even explain, but if I got 3 or 4 months, that was a long time. And then I would just always go right back.
What did that feel like? So you get like 3 or 4 months. What would bring you back? Like what, is it like the desire? Is there like, what's happening? I don't know. And I would love if you could explain what it felt like that would lead you back to a relapse.
Looking back, and I think it's multifaceted, but looking back, now that I've had 13 years of continuous sobriety, I realized that I was never quite done. I wanted to be done, but the thought of never getting high again was still like, I don't know. And for me personally, when you ask me what I changed my mind on, it's also how people choose to get sober. I used to think like, well, I went to 12-step meetings. That's the only thing that works. And now I'm just like, I think whatever works for an individual is going to be different. But for me, a huge part of that has been my spiritual connection, like a spiritual connection to God. And I never would quite get there. I was like, I don't need the God thing. And I just wouldn't, there are all these small things that seem kind of, not trivial. They add up. I guess some of these aren't small. I would still want to stay in contact with some of those guys that use it because some of them had been my friends since high school. Like some of them were like I was using with in high school and I loved. So I had to check in and see how so-and-so was doing, And so I think still keeping those connections open. I think I really lacked a spiritual connection that in those times when it's so tough that I could just pray and be like, just please get me through. And I wouldn't fully buy into like really having a strong community of sober people because honestly, I thought I was better than them. I was like, oh, cool. You've been sober 10 years. You work at fucking Chevron. Like I just, I just kind of judgmental of them. But, and the truth of the matter is even today, when I go to meetings, there's people I look at and I think, man, you have a lot of sobriety. You should be doing more with your life. But ultimately I try to look for the similarities in what they're sharing and what they're feeling, and I can usually find some. And so I think I just never was quite done. People have asked me that a lot when they write me about their kid, and they're like, I thought he had it, and yet again he went out. Like, why? And it's kind of like when finally someone loses a lot of weight and keeps it off, and they've done that. It's just like this. I called it the gift of desperation. I don't think I was ever desperate enough. I was young and my parents always put this, like that's mostly what it was. They put this pillow. So like they say you got to hit rock bottom, but they would put this pillow that I would just like, I would hit the bottom, but it was a little cushion. They'd send me to a, nice rehab where they're cooking fucking wild caught salmon. And like, I went to this one, I was with a movie star there. I won't say her name, but like, I was like, oh, this is like cool. And I went on a helicopter ride. Like, I was like, this is my punishment for like, cool. And my parents loved me so much that they kept trying to like intervene. And I think that because of that, and here's the problem when I say that, there's somebody out there listening where that actually might work. You might do that for your kid the first fucking time and then they get sober. I just wasn't ever fully ready until the very end. And really what I think a huge catalyst for me is, and again, this is just my personal experience and my story, was my parents finally cut me off. And now being a dad, I can only imagine how hard that was.
Yeah.
I mean, this was after so many, not just failed attempts at rehab. I mean, I stole my dad's checks and forged them, and he finally pressed charges. And I got a felony for it last time because it was like the third time and there was no consequences the first two. So he filed charges. I got a felony charge. And they said, we love you, but until you're sober, you're not allowed around here. We can't. My mom would still text me sometimes because she was just pained her so much. So that last year, I was on the streets from all of 2012. I was homeless. I had never been homeless before that. I could like keep my shit together sometimes enough to like live somewhere. And so I was on the streets that whole year. I never slept on the streets because I'm a resourceful motherfucker. Fucking shopping carts. I would literally be like, oh, could you imagine begging for money? And my buddy's like, you're homeless. I'm like, I don't sleep on the streets. I sleep in compromising Motel 6s and like dope trap houses. But it got wild, dude, that last year. Wild. Because I finally didn't have I knew that if it got bad enough, 3 or 4 months in, I could call mom and dad. And because they loved me and wanted so bad for me not to die, they would step in and help me. And that last time, they said, no, like my mom was planning my funeral. It was so sad. Now being a parent, I can only imagine having to cut and say, you're not allowed around here.
Oh,
or I'm not going to talk to you, period. And you might die and I might get a phone call. So last year is when I think I finally hit a bottom. And they talk about this in like recovery meetings, that there's an insistence that like the addict or alcoholic has to hit a bottom that is so desperate that they're finally willing to be like, I'll change literally everything. My friends, my phone number, my job, like whatever it is, I'll do what you guys tell me to do. And I finally was at that spot. And it was, I think, being homeless in Utah in the winter is kind of shitty. It's cold.
Yeah.
And I mean, I would find places to sleep, but I finally hit a bottom that year. And then, when I started using other things like meth, and what brought with that was a sinister evil that I had never felt. I can't explain it, but it was the people. Something about that drug really flipped a switch that was sinister, and like evilness was, I can't even describe it. The people I was hanging out with, they got scarier and scarier. And I'm thinking like, okay, if you don't die from the drugs, like these guys might kill you.
Yeah.
Like, this is wild. What am I doing? So this is all it came to an end, was that last year in November of 2012. And sorry if there's anybody listening that's heard the story. It's the only fucking one I got. Okay. It's the only story. And end of 2012, my mother called me in November of that year. And she said, she informed me my grandfather had died. And I was fairly close with him until I was just off the deep end the last few years with drugs. And she said, I really want you to be at the funeral. And I was determined. I said, I'm going to be there. So that day came around and she said, Brad, just do whatever you got to do to be okay. And I knew what that meant. It means don't be so high that I'm drooling on myself, and don't be withdrawing. But of course, I couldn't make the drugs last. So she picked me up, and the withdrawals had started. And sometimes they would come on gradually, and other times they were like instant. And this was, of course, an instant one. But I was so determined to just do one thing fucking right that year. Just show up to his funeral. Like, just be a normal human. So she picked me up from the shitty motel I was living at, and the withdrawals were starting, and I started shaking and sweating, and she's like, I don't think you can go up like this. I'm like, no, I'll just do it. And like, I'll figure it out after. I have to just show up. And then I vomited in her car, and she said, you can't go like this. And she said, what do we have to do? And I gave her one look, and she knows what that meant. We got to go get the drugs. That's the only out, or I have to just go back and be sick by myself. So I made my good little, at the time, religious mother drive out to the west side of town.
No way.
To go get drugs, and asked her for $20 when I got there to add insult to injury. And I got the drugs. And by this point, we're going to be really late to get there. And she's pissed. She's fuming at me. And I said, you got to stop at like a gas station, because I'd go in the bathroom and shoot up. She said, get in the back seat of the car. Do whatever you got to do. She's like, I'm so mad at you. So we're driving up the highway, and I'm back there, and I won't get into the whole scene. It's just gory. It's like a tourniquet and spoon and needle. And it's just a really gross scene. And she's watching from the rearview mirror as I'm driving, as I'm trying to find a vein. And she's just crying, dude, just like tears coming down her face. And she's not even wiping them. They're just, it wasn't like yups. It was like heartbreak, just tears, just rolling. And she's watching her son massacre his arm just to feel normal enough to show up. And I remember I did it. And I'm so grateful for that moment, as much as it pains me to talk about. Is I did it, and immediately I felt better, but I felt so empty inside. And I looked up at her and I said, I'm sorry, Mom. And we didn't say a word the whole ride. We just sat in silence, and she's just crying. Mascara's going everywhere. And I thought, you have two choices in that moment. You can either kill yourself, or you can get and stay sober. Like, going on another day was not an option. And the first one seemed more likely, but thank God I I actually never was truly in that state of mind to really want to do it. And so I thought you gotta pick the ladder and you got to do something. And that night, by the grace, I prayed for the first time in a long time. I said, God, just help me. I can't do this. I don't know what to do. My parents aren't sending me to a nice detox anymore. Like, please give me the courage just to detox on my own. Just please, because it's so vicious. And that night I was arrested in a stolen vehicle that I was driving that I didn't know was stolen. And yeah, some dude named Gumby, like he asked me to drive. We were going to get drugs. And I was like, he says he's too messed up, but it turns out the car was stolen. And I'm so grateful for that. So we got arrested. And I remember when the lights went off and he informed me the car was stolen. And when you're in a stolen car, they're not like, hey, can I get your license registration? They're like, hands out the window. And I was like, and I had this moment of just, it's over. Like, it's over. Like, this is, like, I could connect the dots in that moment. God was like, I don't think you'll do it on your own. So I'm going to intervene here. Something was divine intervention that night, because I went to jail and I was scared, but I was so relieved because I finally wanted to be done. And so it wasn't the first time I've been in jail, but I detoxed harder than I ever have in my life. And I was laying on that cold cement floor. I remember just in the jail cell, just thinking, this is the last time you have to do this if you want to. This is the last time. Just get through it. Just get through this time. And I did. And I got out 30 days later, which was a miracle. I wasn't expecting to get out. And I went left and so to right, so to speak. I got out and I finally was like, I'm going to do everything. I'm going to prioritize staying sober as my main job right now. And I did. And eventually, my parents came back around. It probably took them 6 or 8 months before they were like, okay, I think he's actually doing good. And a year sober, we had like a little dinner for me. And my dad came up, and it was the first time he told me in maybe my life, but for sure since I was a kid, he said, I'm proud of you.
That's amazing.
And I think he's only said it 3 other times since then. And it was this beautiful moment at a year. I've been asked before, like, were you scared of relapse? Yes, I almost did 3 or 4 times that first year, but I called people at 2 a.m. I mean, anyone in recovery, I'm just like, call. And finally someone picked up and was like, chill. Hey, I got your back. We're going to talk through this. But at a year, there was this moment of like, I think I can actually do this, And 13 years later, here we are. Sorry, that was probably longer than
that was amazing, dude. Thank you for sharing that. That was extraordinary. I know I sort of asked it. When you're in a position in which like you're about to relapse, like you feel it. What's going through your head? What's going through your body? Like what do you feel like when you feel the relapse is like, oh, I want to do this. I want to do this. Like, what happened? What do you do?
Physically,
mentally, emotionally? Like what's happening?
Well, dude, I'll tell you so in 2012, I had spent almost all of 2011 incarcerated. I was in jail. And that was the longest stretch I'd done in jail. So it was the longest I'd been sober since I started using drugs, which was like 9 months because I got good time. So I didn't do the full year. And I remember thinking, this is my time. I've got it. I've got it. And I got out, and it was crazy how quick just that switch flipped. Physically, dude, my palms started sweating. You get the stomach, and I'm like, I think I'm going to shit myself a little bit. Like, you feel it. And what was so interesting was that time was so different. And because that's what started the whole next year, which eventually led to my getting sober. Because I didn't draw a sober breath from that day in January until November, which was a long stretch for me. Mentally that time, every other time was this bullshit story of like, it's only going to be this time. And I was really good at relapsing on things that weren't my favorite to do because those were better. And eventually it always lead back. For example, like I would do like ecstasy at a club. And I was like, well, it's not like you're going to get addicted to ecstasy. But that would all of a sudden open up the door. So frequently my relapses in the past had been justifications of like, well, it's just this, or it's just drinking, or it's just GHB, or whatever story I said. It's not heroin. Like, it's just a little cocaine. Like, this is a crazy line of thinking. The last time I knew, I was like, don't go down there. If you go down and pick this up, you're not going to stop till someone makes you stop. Like, don't. don't. And I'm crying on the way down because I'm so
Interesting.
sad that I knew what I was getting into.
You are aware that you're actively making this decision that you don't want to make.
Yes.
So you know you're like, I don't want to do this. I
Yeah.
don't want to do this, but something is pulling you there.
Yes. And like what that thing is, I still don't know. But all I know is that I hadn't fully made up my mind and just conceived to my innermost self that like you cannot use drugs recreationally and responsibly, so you have to stay sober. I knew, dude. They tell them all this shit in rehab, like play the tape through. I played the tape through, and I was like, well, I'm still going, and it was almost worse. They say the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different result. In that moment, my definition of insanity was doing the same thing over and over, damn well knowing the result is going to be negative and doing it anyways. That felt more insane to me. I felt absolutely insane. I was like, you're a lost cause. And so
The only thing that I can compare this to, because I've never, I was always scared of drugs, and it's just there's been addiction in my family, and I was very fortunate that I never got into that world. But I did really struggle with binge eating. That was onset brought on from wrestling and cutting weight, and when I was really in the depths of binge eating, what you just described is exactly how I felt. And literally to the point of when I was about to go binge eat, I would be so upset at myself. I would be walking to the kitchen saying, what am I doing? As I'm eating to the point of sickness and extreme fullness, every bite is what are you doing? Why are you doing this? Stop. You're not hungry. Stop doing this. Stop every bite, the entire time. And I've always wondered if that is in some way similar. And obviously
sounds identical.
The emotion sounds identical. Obviously I can't compare, like there's no withdrawals. Like it's obviously different in many, many ways, but the emotion of making my way to the kitchen, walking there, and the entire time thinking, don't do this. And immediately after, not even like while I'm doing it, I hate myself while I'm doing it. I don't enjoy it, but there's something that I've yet to be able to define that is pulling me there. That is just like, it's this, I can't articulate it. I don't have a word. That's why I was asking you to see if you had that, but it seems like there's this like inarticulable thing that is just pulling you against your will, even though you logically know I shouldn't be doing this. I don't want to be doing this. I hate myself for doing this. Why am I doing this?
Yes. Yeah. Dude, you described it to a T.
It's very interesting.
It's very similar emotions that are tied to this. And I did a podcast on food addiction and drug addiction, and there's some just very distinct differences, but there's more similarities than people think. And it's the feelings, and it's usually, there's usually there's something wrong. It's like I always said, the drugs weren't my problem. I was my problem. They were my solution at first, and they worked until they stopped working, until they were a bigger problem than the problem. So yeah, man, I can relate with that a lot. Very similar feelings. So
if there's anyone listening who is, we'll start with someone who's actively struggling with addiction, what would your recommendations be?
That it typically gets worse, never better. Like very few people are like, oh yeah, then I managed my heroin addiction better because I did it, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Like it's a progressive thing. It gets worse, not better. So even if you're not you're like, well, I'm addicted, but I'm not like that addicted right now. I'm telling you, this story does not end well. It gets worse, not better. And I'm grateful. I think everything happens how it's supposed to. I'm grateful I got sober when I did. I'm grateful that I didn't die after 6 overdoses and end up in the hospital. For whatever reason, I was supposed to be here today, which is why I feel so called to at least share that message with other people. I can tell you that I would not be mad if I'd gotten sober 5 years before when I went to this rehab and I thought I really had it. Your life doesn't need, when I talk about that bottom, it doesn't mean you have to end up homeless. I have some friends in sobriety who were still high level CEOs, and they live in beautiful homes, but it was the feelings inside that we were the same. So our circumstances look different, but the feeling of just such a demoralizing pit in your stomach at all time. This hatred for who you have become, the lies, the deceit, like it starts to feel like there's like you don't even know. You're like watching this person that's not you. Like this outside reality of what that's what it's about. So somebody listening, you don't have to hit a bottom of being homeless. And I always try to make that point very clear. You know, that's not what the bottom we're talking about is this emotional bottom. Yes, being homeless helped get me there, but so many people justify because they still have these things. And I always say, yeah, you haven't done that yet. It's the yets. Use long enough and it will come. A buddy gets sober that was trying to get sober. And again, really, really good business entrepreneur. And he drank a lot. He was drunk. And he couldn't ever quite get it because he was like, well, I mean, you know, his Lamborghini Urus in the garage in the big house, like that tells him he's probably okay.
Yeah.
And he was like, I haven't had, like, I hear these people having domestic violence and they're drunk driving. And within the course of 2 weeks, he got a DV against his wife and got a drunk driving. And I was like, yeah. And then he was finally ready. But I don't think it has to get that bad. I've seen people who just finally made the decision and their life wasn't horrible, but how they felt inside was. And they just don't do it anymore.
What about recommendations for family or friends of someone that they know is struggling?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on recommendations for them?
You know, I'm a big fan of, and some people have not liked it, but of Al-Anon, which is the sister program to Alcoholics Anonymous, where it's for friends and families. And I think you can learn a lot about codependency there and how to support them. And it's free. So I always say, hey, give Al-Anon a try. And if you don't like it, like, let's find something else. But I think it's worth a shot.
Good.
You know, it's a very supportive community of other moms and dads and brothers and sisters going through the same shit as you, because that was going to be my second one, whether you do Al-Anon or not. I think having some people that you can talk to that understand it, because it starts to feel insane. You're just like, the addict is just a tornado going through everyone's lives. And like everyone's in the middle getting sucked up and they're just like, what's the problem? I'm fine. Like, and so it feels really lonely. And I've talked to a lot of parents. I'm like, no, you're not alone. That's how every parent feels, where they're just so sad. Like, why is my kid doing this? Like the destruction. And also if you get to let's say somebody's trying to get sober, an addict out there that you love, and that you find yourself working way harder to get them sober than they are, it's probably a sign you need to back off. And I tell, it took my parents 9 years before they were finally like, see ya, go away.
Yeah.
So, but at some point, if it was ruining, they've been married 55 years and almost got a divorce over me because my mom wanted to help me. He didn't. And so, make sure you're taking care of yourself, because if some people get so addicted to helping the addict, but at some point you gotta make sure you have very strong boundaries. Addicts hate boundaries. Boundaries are like the worst B word out there. So it is, and it's just crucial to find other people that you can talk to and understand what you're going through.
Let's say someone's struggling with alcohol specifically, which I think is uniquely dangerous because it's legal.
Yep.
What signs would you look for someone who's maybe a casual drinker, or maybe they think they're a casual drinker? What would you have someone look for to say, hey, maybe you need to stop?
Yeah, I just did a piece of content on this. And by the way, I used to say to people, like when in recovery, when I was early, you just drank, like my heroin and meth was so much like, now I'm like, ooh, alcohol, huh? I don't walk into a convenience store and have a loaded up syringe. Like, I think alcohol is one of the hardest. It's socially acceptable. It's everywhere. It's legal.
People push it on you.
Yes. Like, why aren't you gonna have a drink? Why don't you have a drink? So I think people who are true alcoholics even might struggle more than some people because of it's readily available and it's everywhere. I hate, like, no one does it to me as much, but I hear it with my clients all the time. I'm just like, why does your sister care? Okay, Tina, shut up. Like, yes. Why don't you're not fun anymore? And it's like, that's so crazy. I think if you find yourself struggling you say, hey, I'm gonna have a drink tonight after work, and the drink is even 2 or 3, but you told yourself it would only be 1. Now, here and there, that shit happens. You're just like, oh, that was pretty good. I'll have another drink.
Right. Doesn't mean you're an alcoholic just because
yes,
of that. Yeah.
consistently where you're like, wow, I did it again. I told myself I'd only have one at this party and I had three. I think that's something to look at. I think if you spend time drinking just alone, now not that that's bad, but frequently, and that's actually how you prefer to drink, I think that's probably a bad sign.
Yeah. That's actually very interesting. Again, like I'm only just drawing parallels from my experience, but binge eaters don't binge eat in front of other people.
No, never.
It's a secret.
Yes.
And often because they're embarrassed, oftentimes they'll go out to eat dinner with their friends or family or whatever, and they might not even eat. Oh, I'm not really hungry, because they're planning to binge that night. And I oftentimes people will say, well, I don't know why this person is gaining weight. Like, I see them, they don't really eat. It's like, but are you home with them? Are you with them all the time? Because just because you had dinner with them a couple nights a week doesn't mean you know what's actually going on. I'm just seeing this similar parallel here with the drinking, where it's like, maybe they aren't drinking, or they're only like appropriately drinking with you, but back home, you have no idea what they're doing.
100%, dude. The binge eater doesn't. I had a client who was a binge eater, and he was like, my wife's wondering why I'm like, how am I not dropping weight? Because she watches me eat my chicken and rice or whatever.
Right.
Like, I think another sign is, and again, there's nuance to all of this. I made that video and people are like, I drink sometimes alone. I'm not an alcoholic. I'm like, well, first off, why the fuck are you so offended? Like,
right.
Triggered. But like, secondly, yeah, then if this doesn't apply to you, but if it didn't apply to you, you would probably just see the content and think, oh, cool. That's good for other people.
Yeah, exactly.
I think also if you find yourself consistently, and I keep using that word, but drinking to numb out.
Yeah.
Oh man, fight with the wife again. I'll have a drink instead of like, and not again, here and there. I got friends that like crack open a beer sometimes after they got in an argument with his wife, and he called me and he was like, I'm smoking a cigar and drinking a beer. He doesn't even like finish the beer.
Yeah.
It's different than like, that's your first go-to, that I want to numb out because I don't like how I'm feeling. Because the only way you grow in life is by feeling those feelings. Like, you have to feel it to heal it, but it's true. I listed a couple more in there, but I think those would be my, or if you find that your temperament changes significantly, even with just a couple drinks. Maybe you're angry, maybe you're promiscuous. Like, that's, and I've had friends where, man, 2 or 3 drinks and they got a temper and they're not even that drunk, but they will snap.
Yeah.
I think that's a bad sign that you should probably watch the booze.
That'll make sense. That's really good advice. Thank you, dude.
Yeah.
All right. So let's switch gears for a second. Not for a second. Let's switch gears. Let's go to fitness.
Yeah.
So if you could go back and restart your whole fitness journey over again, what would you do differently in the gym, knowing everything you know now?
Wow. I would not train 6 days a week like a maniac. And the reality is people are like, oh, you were young and dumb. And like, I was also on performance enhancing drugs, which allows you to train 6 days a week. When you see these bodybuilders splits and they're doing a push-pull legs ×2 and it's like tons of volume.
Oh man.
They have a huge advantage. And like, I'm not even like saying there's a joke. Like, it is serious. Like, the recoverability when you're using PEDs is 10x. And so I got really in that habit that even when I wasn't taking them, I mean, I would just beat my body down. I used to train for strength, which is not bad, but at the expense of like, it was all ego. It wasn't that I was like really wanting to get strong so I could pick up an armoire. I wanted to do it at ego. And you know, another thing I would have done is prioritize my legs more.
Really?
I trained them, so I wasn't the guy who skipped leg day, but I was a pussy. And now even today, dude, compared to my upper body, they're really behind, but that is, some of it is genetic and others is I spent way too much time on my upper body. But in the gym, I think I would have understood that recovery was just as big as the stimulus. You know, yeah, I think that's what I would have done in the gym different. It's funny, just I don't know. Listen, it's been like 2 weeks, but I'm starting to do a little more mobility because I'm so sick of. Do you remember me?
Dude, of course.
I can't even turn my fucking neck.
I remember, of course.
We were in Vegas for a conference, and Jordan's like, wait, turn your neck. And I was like, I am. It's like, you remember when I tried to do a somersault?
I have the video. Yeah.
Dude, and it's gotten slightly better since then, but I want to feel good. Dude, I'm 41 years old, and so I'm getting a little more into that, which has been cool.
I'm designing some neck mobility stuff for the inner circle right now. It's funny. I always think about it when I'm driving and I have to like look behind me, and I'm like, oh, thank God I have this like thoracic and neck mobility where I can turn around.
Let's see how far you can turn. Am I there?
Does that impede you while driving?
Bro, yes. Yes. I'm like, yeah, dude, I'm really tight everywhere and it doesn't feel good.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like when you're younger, you just don't feel it as much.
No.
But as you get older, like you notice it's diminishing. And then once you don't have it anymore, you're like, oh shit, like it's more effort to turn this way. It's more effort to do X, Y, and Z. And it's like painful and uncomfortable.
Well, dude, I watched your progression when I think you were just getting into this mobility the last time I saw you here. And maybe not even then. It was just a video I saw. But it gives me hope because your splits, like where you were at, that is, I'm a little worse, but, and now you can go all the way.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, it's crazy.
What's been cool to watch you is there was always this misconception that I actually bought into too for years that like, you'll put some of these stretches under a lot of load.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I was always like, nope, you can't do that.
Which is funny because weightlifting is literally just stretching under load.
Yeah.
A bicep curl is stretching under load.
It's true.
Like you're elongating your muscle during the eccentric under load.
Yeah.
It's funny. It's like a lot of the mobility myths, like they fall apart as soon as you just realize that's what strength training is.
It's actually a very good point. Especially some of these that get it in like the lengthened stretch position.
Yes, exactly. Lengthened partials is stretching.
That's interesting. That's true. Do you do you still strength train?
Yeah,
I'm gonna
of course.
interview you now.
Yeah, dude, of course.
How many days a week?
3.
And then how many mobility?
It's not 3 days. It's not 3 days per week. It's 3 strength.
Well, I knew you
sessions.
still strength train, but sorry, the question would have been how many?
It's 3 strength training days within a 10-day cycle. So it's not like Monday, Wednesday, Friday. It's like within every 10 days, I'll do one upper body push, one upper body pull, and then one leg day. And then I have a front split day. I have a side split day. I've got cardio mixed in there. I've got like.
And how long are those workouts?
This front split, side split? Those are difficult. Those are long. Those are like an hour and a half to 2 hours.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah, those are long.
Oh.
Those are really intense. Now, the goal for me is to make them more brief over time. When I first started, they would be like 2.5 hours sometimes for a couple of reasons. Number one, they're wildly painful, especially when you first start. The pain of getting into when I first started, my split was not good, but like it was even more painful then. I'm not used to the pain. It's similar to like, you have different types of pain. You have cardio pain, where it's like often like mental and emotional, especially like for that longer duration. For a short sprint, it's painful, but it's like not as mentally. It's like often in your lungs, your heart. Strength training maximal effort pain is often like, it's different than bodybuilding pain, where it's like you get the burn in the muscle versus like the pain of a max effort lift. All these different types of pain. The pain from holding a near max stretch for a minute straight is emotionally draining.
Yeah.
And when I first started, sometimes my rest periods would be like 10 minutes because I was like, I just don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. Now the goal is, number one, reduce the rest periods to something more appropriate. So now instead of 10 minutes between a full range split, now it's like 4 to 5 minutes, which is that's progress. That's progressive overload. I can now essentially do more volume in less time. And then the rate at which I can get into these positions has decreased. So like before, it would take me a long time in a session to get to where I could get to my deepest. Now it's like, I can get to my deepest position within a far less of a warm-up cycle. So a lot of the initial part of the session is preparing to achieve that range.
Yeah, that makes total sense.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
It's fun, dude.
I would have never expected you to say 2 hours.
Oh yeah, it's a long time. Now, I think the better you get, the shorter and shorter, more brief it can become. But for the full on intensive split workouts, yeah, they can be a very long time.
Yeah.
What are you doing for mobility right now?
Not enough, dude. That's like, I'm talking like, hey, you should design me something. I should join the inner circle. Yeah, not enough, but I've been doing like, I mean, I don't even know if it's considered mobility at this point, but like 90-90 hip rotations. I've been doing, what's it called with the kettlebell? Well, I feel like I'm fucking idiot. You should not hire
A
me.
windmill?
Yes.
Those
How'd
are,
you know?
just because it's such a,
Oh,
one of my favorite mobility drills with the kettlebell.
yeah. Sorry, that was just like a brain fart, not remembering.
It's an incredible full body mobility exercise with the kettlebell.
Hard.
It's, yeah, especially if you're lacking that rotation.
Yeah. Do you think like doing anything? Well, I'm really interviewing, like people will do like a landmine rotation for obliques. Do you think that helps with mobility at all?
I think it can help with mobility if you lack that range.
Well, I do, because I'm like, when I'm doing it, I'm like, man. Like,
yeah. I mean, just watching your torso rotation now, I could see that absolutely being a wonderful mobility exercise for you. It's sort of like, imagine if someone can max deadlift 500 pounds, and then you said, hey, is deadlifting 315 pounds going to get me stronger? No, you can max deadlift 5. Like, that's not enough of a stimulus. If you don't have sufficient range, then that exercise will help you build that range. At a certain point, it will no longer be enough to increase your range.
Yes.
But right now it is, for sure.
But right now it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel it.
Yeah, I bet. I mean, windmills, I would imagine, are very difficult for you.
Bro, I hate them.
Yeah. But the more you do it, the better you get. Then the more you have access to that range. And the goal would be to be able to have access to that range without a weight.
Yes.
Because right now you can use the weight to help you get into the range.
Exactly.
And the same with the kettlebell torso. Or
How much weight do you normally do on those?
With
like a windmill?
With a windmill? I mean, it depends what I'm doing. If I'm just doing it as like a warm-up exercise, just a little light amount of weight, like a 20 kilogram, not that much. But if you're lacking shoulder mobility, it's going to be very difficult to have it up in that position. If I'm doing it for strength, then I'll load it up to definitely 32, 36, 40 kilograms. Like, that's just only one rep, maybe 2 reps, just like for a strength perspective.
Yeah.
But for me, the barbell, like landmine torso rotations, that's not helping my mobility at this point. That's more just either maintenance or just strengthening the range that I currently have. Whereas if I really wanted to challenge my like thoracic rotation, I would have to do something that would require more range of it.
Yeah. Sorry, I meant to go off on a tangent.
No. So would you? So you're doing more mobility? Are you doing more cardio? Like,
okay, so the mobility's new. So we gotta like. I mean, I probably should do it for a couple months before I'm doing it. Cardio is something I have focused on for the last probably 2 years, 18 months, and really what happened, man, was, I mean, yeah, I was jacked, and even when I was lean, I was like tired, like huffing and puffing, and I would feel it when I was with Dominic at like these trampoline parks and running around.
Those are
like,
tough.
how am I this out of breath? And my blood work's always been off and on with it being good. And I thought, you know what? Like, I really, really want to prioritize more cardio, and nothing to do with my aesthetic. Before, if I was doing cardio, it was for a specific reason to get leaner. That was it.
Yeah.
And it's been cool to have this one thing where I'm like, oh, no, if I get leaner, if I don't get leaner, I don't care. I'm doing this cardiovascular for my heart, for how I feel inside, hopefully to improve some blood lipids. It has nothing to do with anything but trying to get a stronger VO2 max and get in better shape, because you see somebody and you think, oh, they're in good shape. Well, no, they're aesthetically in good shape, but they're not internally. Some of them are a wreck, like I was.
Do you think becoming a father
100%
changed your view of fitness?
Yes.
How so?
Well, one of them would be cardio, that I started realizing like, oh, like I want to be playing around with him and like vibrant during this time. I mean, I see some of these parents who are overweight and they're sitting on the sidelines and they probably can't even come play with them.
Yeah.
Like they would, and yet I wasn't overweight and I was in the same boat sometimes. I would do it, but I'd be like, And I think just also, man, just wanting to, I mean, it really slowed down my PED use. I'm not even a competitor anymore. And so I'm like, why are you doing this? And it was purely just from ego, dude. I just, my view of fitness, it still needs to involve more. That's the truth. It still includes a lot of standard bodybuilding, hypertrophy training.
Do you enjoy it? Do you like the bodybuilding training?
Yeah, I do. I don't like it as much as I used to love it. I still enjoy it, but I'm also feeling this nudge that's why I'm like, I'll start throwing in some more. Like feeling this pull to do something a little different. And for somebody who's kind of built, and what's been interesting about this whole process was, it's like I almost built this identity around it. And I feel like I'm like shifting it. I'm like, well, if I only do like 3 days a week of strength training, and then I'm doing like fucking rock climbing or so, like anything.
Yeah.
Except for just the standard 5 day a week split that I've been doing, every muscle group twice. It's like, I feel like I'm like losing part of my identity, which is so weird.
I felt that way when I stopped powerlifting.
Oh, I bet.
I got very concerned when I stopped powerlifting. Part of it was I had spent so long talking about how great powerlifting was and how like it's the greatest form of training and and I was like, I felt like, well, if I've said this is the best, then anything other than this is inherently not as good. I'm not training optimally. That's like what I had taught myself. And then the other side was business. I had spent so long building up my business as a powerlifter and powerlifting coach. I was like, no one's going to want to work with me anymore if I'm not showing that I'm a powerlifter.
That's true.
I was worried that I would lose business. Ironically, it actually helped my business. It opened up more people who would want to work with me. It was such, powerlifting is so niche specific, so small. And it did the exact opposite, but I was very scared. And I had like this identity crisis of like, if I'm not a competitive powerlifter, then what am I? And then it ended up opening so many doors, but it was very scary.
Interesting to hear.
Yeah.
You went through it's just recently I identified that, and it's been interesting to kind of view it and be like, oh, this is more than you just changing it up. Like, what if you lose some size, or like what, all these what ifs.
Yeah.
And I've really had to explore that more. And I realized that there's definitely a part of it where I have made content about like strength training, like hypertrophy training, and staying in that, like, you want to build your physique, this is the way you do it. And so I think there's probably some of that for me too. That's really interesting.
Do you feel like you struggle with body dysmorphia at all?
Yes.
Currently?
Way better than it used to be.
Oh, good.
Way better. And part of that has just become, I've done a lot of internal work, and I think I'm just more comfortable with who I am today. But absolutely, I'd be lying. I'd be disingenuous to say that I still don't have it. I had it so bad in bodybuilding. There's nothing wrong with competing, but I will tell you, people have asked me, and I'll sometimes be like, maybe I should compete again, I could do it. And it's like, sure, you could. You could probably do decently well. For me, it really brought out a lot of things. And maybe it'd be different this time, 10 years later. But when I was in those competing days, man, my body dysmorphia was 10x. And I see this happen with clients that I take through shows. And he's just shredded lean with veins everywhere. And I'm like grabbing skin, and I'm like, you're fat. You're fat.
Dude, I think.
But I don't see myself like other people do still today.
I appreciate you being open and honest about that. I think it's important because people will look at you and you're like, dude, you're jacked and you're very lean. And I think a lot of people would look at you and think, oh, he just must love his body. He must just like be so confident in that. But I feel like, we've been in this industry for a very long time. I think the people who focus the most on their body often have the worst body dysmorphia.
Yeah.
That's why I've always been such a proponent of performance-based training, because no one can take it away from you. You're not, and most importantly, you can't take it away from you. If you've been wanting to get your first chin up or your first push up, and you get that, you do your first chin up, your first push up, you can't even say, I didn't do that, or didn't look at, like, you did it. But you're like, hey, I want to get to this certain body weight, or I want to get to this certain body fat. You can look at yourself in the mirror and say, I still don't look good. I'm still not as shredded as this person. I still don't look as attractive in this way, whatever it is. You can still pick your body apart. And I think the more shredded you get, the more lean you get, the more you focus on it, the more you're going to pick apart about yourself.
Yeah.
But when you deadlift 200, 300, 400 pounds for the first time, when you get your first push-up, first 10 push-ups, first 10 chin-ups, you get a certain mile time, whatever, when you do it, you can't even take it away from you. And that's the greatest
Very
part
true.
about performance-based training, because now it's like, it's not even just like, this is how, like, this is what my body can do, which is a wonderful thing to be proud of. But it's like, even your worst inner critic can't take that away from you.
So true. And it's an interesting kind of dichotomy to view in myself and clients over the years is this, you start getting leaner and then there's a part of you that wants more. And I don't even think that part is inherently negative.
Mm-hmm.
Like whether that's with business, your relationship, your body, this idea of like, this is good, let's do more. But just like some of these other things like business for you, I mean, some people end up not showing up for their family ever because they were building this, you know, 9-figure business and they look back and they regret it. I feel like even with your body, you have to really be careful. I've called some clients out even just recently about like, hey, I know you want more, but I think we're losing sight of the gratitude of just how far you've come. And you're picking yourself apart way worse than you were now than 40 pounds ago. That's probably not healthy.
Yeah.
You know?
And how much time are you spending with training, nutrition? Like, how much time are you spending on all this? It's important to spend time on it, but there are diminishing returns. It's sort of like when people hear 10,000 steps is what you should shoot for, and like, okay, I'm going to get 16,000. I'm like, that's a lot of extra time.
Yeah.
For what benefit? Maybe you get some extra cardiovascular benefit, but what about the benefit of spending time with your family, spending time with your kids, going out, having a community that supports you? It's like, if you're just spending all this time alone so you can get more steps in, you're missing out on other very important aspects of health.
Yeah.
It's like, health isn't only physical. We understand it's mental. We understand it's environmental and community focused. It's like, if you're missing out on other things, you are hurting your health in other ways.
Absolutely. I had a client not too long ago and adore her and love her. And by the end, I did have a 14K step goal for her, which is outrageous. And I was like, hey, just for this couple of weeks. Well, she went above and beyond. So she thought she was doing 20. And I looked at her and I said, why? Well, because I'm just like determined to get this off. And I said, there is a point at which this has not actually been. I'm not even sure 20,000 steps, but again, you talk about the sacrifice. I'm thinking if it takes about 10 minutes to walk 1,000 steps on average, I'm thinking she spent an extra 60 minutes walking on top of an already absurd step goal. And I said, maybe I misled you by giving you that aggressive a step goal because typically I don't.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, yeah, let's do this. Let's walk more. And already I was a little gun shy. And so it was a good reminder to me to really frame up to clients if I'm going to do that, like, hey, this is already probably too much. And so then I need to recheck myself. But getting 20,000 and literally spending every waking moment eating or walking.
Crazy.
I don't think that's healthy.
That's not healthy.
No.
You're right.
No.
Let's shift gears massively. You ready for this one?
Yeah.
So this is, I want to give some context. We're going to switch to when you're going to be interviewing me now. Okay.
Oh yeah. Let's go.
All right. So this is, I'm going to explain how this happened.
Yeah.
All right.
That was great.
So Brad and I have been friends, very close friends since 2019. And Brad is now going to interview me and we're going to talk about Israel and Judaism and probably other things as well. The whole reason this came about is because in the last few years, obviously, dramatic rise in anti-Semitism. Israel is the topic of everything. Israel is being blamed for literally everything under the sun. And I was scrolling Instagram and I saw a post. I'm not going to say from who. And I saw that you had liked it. And in this post, there was not anti-Israel rhetoric. There was anti-Jewish rhetoric. And I immediately texted you. And I was like, hey, dude, I need you to call me. We got on the phone and I was like, hey, man, listen, I love you. I saw you like this post. I wanted to talk about it. And you were like, I didn't even watch it. I just liked it. Now, just that I think is worth discussing, how I didn't just like get angry and like get mad at you, whatever. I was like, we need to talk. Like, this is really important.
You know, I knew it was coming. I had a hunch.
How did you know?
Because I was like, so Jordan doesn't typically do that.
Yeah.
And I had, what sounds like unbeknownst to you, kind of started going down this rabbit hole for a couple months.
I had no idea.
And so I was like, oh, I bet he's I wonder if it's this. I remember Jen's like, oh, I don't. I think you're like.
Oh, you told her?
Yeah, so maybe he just wants to talk. I was like, Jordan wants to talk. Like, he never does that. But I'm gonna call him tonight. And I wondered if it was
Because you'd fallen in the rabbit hole of like,
I thought you had seen a lot of things that I had gauged on, but it was just one.
Okay.
Well, engaged by liking, not like I don't like comments.
Yeah.
I'm not much of a comment guy unless.
For me, I know, listen, it's been a crazy few years for many, many reasons. Just as a Jew in the Jewish community, there's been a lot of this and a lot of anger and hatred, and we'll talk all about it. But I know many in the Jewish community are like, what do I do? Do I just stop being friends with this person? I'm like, I can't tell you what to do. But I was like, I love you. So I need to figure out what happened that made you not just like this post. Now,
But there's so much to say to that. That is because you handled it that way. Because you could have done two other things. You could have been like, well, fuck him, and just shunned me for the rest of my life and been like, okay, I guess he hates me now.
Yep.
Or you could have called me and been like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
Either way is not great.
Correct.
So the way you handled it, I have a lot of respect for. I felt like you were genuinely curious.
I was.
You led with curiosity instead of anger, and people struggle to do that in today's world.
Yeah. And so then I was like, listen, I want to be an open book. I was like, if you have any questions about Judaism, Jews, Israel, anything, ask me. So we spent like an hour and a half on the phone. And you're like, all right, cool. Here's all the shit that I'm seeing. I have questions. And I was like, you know what? Well, number one, we spent an hour and a half and we discussed all of it. And then also I was like, it would be really great if you came on the podcast and asked any of these questions, the ones that we already spoke about, other questions that you have, because I think it's important to have these open conversations. It's important to be honest about them. And I think it's important to model it for people, but also like they're legitimate questions.
Yeah.
Like I don't think that just, here's one of my issues with the Jewish community. Anytime someone asks a question, oh, you're anti-Semitic.
Yeah.
I hate that. I hate when they do that because it shuts down the question. Rather than saying, let's actually have this discussion, I hate it when they immediately say, oh, you're being anti-Semitic. How about we answer it with logic and an open heart so that we can have a legitimate conversation?
Yeah.
Anytime someone says, I can't say this, and this isn't just in the Jewish community, but as a Jew, I hate when Jews do this. It's like, no. Like, let's discuss it. Let's answer it so that we can show them why it's either true or not true, and then have an open discussion. So, do you want me to give you? I'll give you my phone because you wrote a bunch of questions and yeah.
You know, I want to frame this up too, and well, maybe it's not too relevant. I'll just give the Cliff Notes. So just a little history about me, and this is actually probably more than I've ever even openly said, which I'm fine with. Up until the year of 2020, I couldn't care.
Couldn't care less.
I hate when people say I could care less.
Yeah, I couldn't care less.
I couldn't care less. I almost said it again about politics.
Yeah.
I thought like in 2016 when Trump was running, I thought it was a joke. And like, oh no, he's like really running. And I was like, oh, like the guy from Home Alone? Like, remember? Like his cameo? Home Alone 2?
Yes.
I just really didn't faze myself with any of it. And part of that was maybe like, I mean, I wasn't young, but I was just getting sober. I just didn't care.
I think many relate to that. It also wasn't as prevalent on social media.
Yes.
Now it's impossible to be on social media without seeing politics.
100%. And they're getting better at being polarizing on the opinions. Like, you know, I wasn't a guy who really ever watched the news because I understood early on my sobriety. I'm like, it's just toxic and negative.
Yeah.
And like, if something's super important, I'll hear about it. I don't need to hear them scare me. And so I didn't care. And then all of a sudden COVID happened. And again, this is more than I've ever said. And I was like, I guess I'm on the right. I don't know. Because I don't want to wear a mask. And it threatened our industry. Like, I was doing more in-person stuff at the time.
Yeah.
And like, thank God for that. It shifted me online fully.
Yep.
And was such a blessing. So like, I'm really grateful for that. But at first it was this huge hit.
I have many friends, as I'm sure you do, who they lost their entire business.
Yeah.
And they were like, why am I losing my gym when alcohol stores are allowed to stay open?
And so that's where all of a sudden then I'm like, oh, I guess this is more of a right-leaning stance. which probably wasn't even entirely true, but maybe it was. And so
That's how it was framed.
yes, that's how it was framed. So I just kind of started saying, I guess I'm a conservative,
Mm.
not really knowing much about it, like other
Yeah.
than just like, you're threatening my livelihood.
Mm-hmm.
And as the years have gone on, I started saying, okay, I guess I'm like right of center. And honestly, the last little bit, I don't know if that makes me an independent or politically unaffiliated, but I'm like, what you said earlier when we started the podcast, I'm just after the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And I have felt almost a freedom being like, I don't have to identify with any part. And what's been interesting is now I can see, I did a podcast on my podcast, but like the polarizing opinions of both sides when they pop up in my feed, because they don't as much anymore since I changed my algorithm.
Mm.
But I'm like, oh, yeah, they have a really good point.
Yeah.
Oh, they do too. Wow. And I'm like, that's interesting.
Yeah.
And so just a little hit, I really chose to protect my peace for a lot of years. And even during that time, I got super wrapped up into it, and I would negative and bitch. And then I thought to myself, it's kind of ignorant of you to even like say you're something, like when I don't really know the ins and outs. And I figured out I'm like more fiscally conservative.
Yep.
But outside of that, I'm just like, I think they have framed me to care more than I do.
Hmm.
And so as I kind of started realizing, okay, I don't even like talking like to my friends about I don't want to spend time on this. And some people have said that's like, it was literally that I only have so much bandwidth to give a shit about stuff in my life.
Yes.
And I have so many people that actually need me to give a shit about them.
Yeah.
That I'm not going to waste my time just, fighting, especially about this.
Yeah.
And I have great friends on both sides of the aisle. And I'm like, and some of them hate each other.
It's crazy.
And I'm like, I love you both. This is crazy. We were all good friends. Like, this is nuts.
Mm-hmm.
And families tearing apart. And so that's just some of the context was like, and I started kind of just pulling back away. And then out of nowhere, my feed just started getting hit with stuff about Israel. And I started going, is that, wow. Oh, well, that makes sense. Oh, damn. Is that, because as content creators ourselves, we know how to do a good hook and get your attention.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, part of what I don't like about content lately is, I was telling you before, it's like, if I'm just nuanced and pretty neutral on something, it doesn't do well.
Yeah.
It's like you have to be super controversial. And we don't have to be, but it sure feels like it. And I see people doing the same thing, and I'm like, gosh, they're good at content because they sucked me in. I was like, that must be right.
Yep.
And candidly, I should have gone, well, I know a lot of Jewish people, but I know that Jordan.
Do you know a lot of Jewish people?
Yeah, but like, not like you. I don't know. Like, they're not like, you're pretty, I mean, is active the right word? In your faith?
Yeah, sure. That's a good word.
Yeah, like, you practice.
Yes, practicing Jew.
Yeah. I have a lot of Jewish friends who are not
Culturally Jewish.
Yes.
Yeah.
There you go. There's the right word. So anyways, that's the frame of how it happened. And so I started seeing these things and kind of started wondering if they were true. And still do have some questions, which I'm going to ask you on here.
Good.
Because I think there's actually a lot of people out there listening that are actually like me. If they really were honest with themselves, they're like, I don't even know if I give a shit about any of the political party. I like this about this and this about this. But it's easy to fall into because, can I say their names?
Oh, yeah, you can say their names.
Okay. Two of the people that especially when I thought I was like a right-leaning person, like more than I do today, I loved Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I just, obviously they're very, very on the right, but even just some of Tucker's other stuff, I just watching somebody like the way he articulates in stories. And I was like, he's really good. His 20-minute opening monologues are insane. And I heard he didn't even have a teleprompter for him. He just
That's
went.
crazy.
I mean, he was like,
He's wildly intelligent.
Yes.
Whether you agree with him or not, like wildly intelligent.
And there was a lot of stuff that I was like, okay, that seems a little extreme, a little fear-mongering. And I could even decipher at the time because I was like, okay. But it's when they started talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I had joked with you when I was on the phone. Like, Jen always teased me that I had a crush on CO. She's like, your girlfriend's CO, Candace Owens. I just was like, I just have a little crush on her. It's so stupid. And when someone like that has influence on someone like me, who at best is right of center, at best at that time, it can be really dangerous. Because I always really liked them. And even though I didn't agree with everything they said, when they start making it all about that, that's what really sucked me in. And then through that, Instagram is a beautiful thing and horrible. You start liking, they see it, and my feed just started becoming swarmed with
Even if you don't like it, you just watch the whole thing. They're like, oh.
How do they know?
Even if you just, and also if you're talking about it in your home.
Yeah.
They hear you talking about it. Like they listen.
Yeah.
If you're searching it online, they know. Like yesterday I was searching on Google, like I'm thinking about getting a pec deck from Life Fitness. All of my ads are now pec decks.
Yeah.
All of my ads are now Life Fitness.
Cookie,
Yeah. Just immediately.
Immediately.
They know exactly. And if you just watch the whole video, if you spend time looking through the comments on the video, they know.
Yeah. So, okay. So I'm just framing up the context that I'm actually, and after talking to Jordan, because you are wildly intelligent too, and you broke things down in a digestible manner. So I'm stating this, I hope the listeners know, from a purely a fact of, I think there's a lot of people like me, and maybe you haven't seen some of the stuff about Israel and Jews, but I think you have.
Oh, I've seen all of it.
Yeah, I think most people have now. Because you got two people with massive audiences spending the vast majority of their time. Well, Candace Owens talks about Charlie Kirk, but also ties back to Israel.
Ties it back to Israel.
100%.
Think about that. And we could even talk about this for a second. Like, why do you as a content creator spend time on, aside from saying, hey, this is really helpful, people need to hear this, what's the main driver of why you'll make a certain either type of content about a specific topic or a style of content, whether it's a reaction video, or why do you do certain types of content? Because it performs well.
Yeah.
And so understanding that if their income is driven by views, which it is, and one topic is doing very well and driving a lot more views and subsequently driving a lot more income, they are now incentivized to talk about that more. If you look at Candace Owens' views,
yeah, you showed me, it was nuts.
From when she started, from before Charlie Kirk was assassinated to after, she immediately changed everything. And when, like, her views from before Charlie Kirk to after, and everything changed to Charlie and Erica and Israel, views went up like 4, 5, 10x.
Oh,
insane!
It was insane.
And so she,
and just so you guys know, on YouTube, that's a huge monetization.
That's huge, and that doesn't.
She's making money.
Never mind the sponsorship.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's just the ads that YouTube is placing on there. You can make a good amount of money off that.
Millions per month. Millions. I mean, she goes live every day.
Yeah.
And every time there's an ad, like, that's thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars.
Yep.
Millions per month.
It's crazy.
Hundreds of thousands to millions. Yeah, it's crazy.
So, okay, well then, oh, whoops.
And I'll say here.
I found it.
I'll say
just viewing Jordan's notes here. I was like, wait, that's not this podcast.
I'll say also, one of my favorite things is I get messages every week, not every day, but every week there's someone who's messaging me about this topic, and they're like, hey, you've been very open about you're Jewish and you've lived in Israel. I have questions. Is this okay? I love it. And I'll spend 30 minutes to an hour going back and forth, sending voice memos, explaining things. I want people to know they can come to me and ask questions, and I'm not going to immediately shut it down. Oh, that's anti-Semitic. Like, the only way that we can foster understanding and empathy and community is to have these discussions. That's the only way. To shut them down only makes people angry and think that, well, then this must be true or this must be bad, because I'm not anti-Semitic, but I do have questions. So let's talk about it.
100%. Okay, well, we'll see how many we get through here. How do you personally separate Jewish identity from the Israel government?
It's a great question. So I'll start by saying I don't know a single Jew, whether they're Israeli or not, that doesn't criticize the Israeli government. In the same way, I don't know a single American that doesn't criticize the American government.
Yeah.
I think it's really important to criticize governments, period, and especially your own government. Criticize, scrutinize, be aware.
I've criticized both the last administrations.
Yeah.
One before and one now.
As we should.
Yeah.
We should be very aware of what they're doing, and we should scrutinize them. And when they do something wrong, we should criticize it. And when they do something right, we should acknowledge it. Period. Just because I am Jewish and just because Israel is the Jewish state does not mean that they are above scrutiny in any way, shape. It does not mean they're above criticism. I don't know a single Israeli who does not criticize the Israeli government, period. So just because I'm Jewish, it honestly makes me criticize them more. Like, hey, this was a big fucking mistake. And by the way, you're representing us.
Yeah.
And when you make this mistake, you make all of us look bad. So I am a Jew, first and foremost, and I love Israel. I think it's amazing. And there are real problems with the state of Israel that need to be addressed. So just because I'm a Jew doesn't mean I don't criticize Israel or the policies enacted or how the government works. And I think every Jew can relate to that.
Do you feel people confuse Jewish people worldwide with the actions of the Israeli government?
Yes, to a wild degree. And I don't know if it's confused. I don't know if it's they just use them interchangeably. But if the actions of the Israeli government do something, then Jews worldwide pay the price for it. And not even just worldwide, Jews within Israel who vehemently oppose what the government has done are blamed for it. Whether it's Candace, whether it's Anna Kasparian, whether it's Tucker, will openly say Israelis are evil. Imagine if Trump does something or Biden does something and everyone just says Americans are evil. That doesn't happen just because the leader of the country does something, just because the government votes for something. But when it's Israel, it's Israelis are evil or Jews are evil. It happens all the time. And like we saw in Bondi Beach recently in Australia, 15 Jews were murdered at a menorah lighting.
Sad.
People will say, "Oh no, it's not Jews. It's Zionists. It's not Jews. It's Israelis." It's like they weren't Israelis, and you don't know if they were Zionists. They're Jews, and they were targeted because they're Jews. That's why that happens. Two Jews. It's been happening all over, but in D.C. not long ago, 2 Jews were killed in an event in D.C., which, by the way, the event was specifically around how to get more aid and help to the people of Gaza. That's what the event was about, and they were killed just because they're Jews. So people will absolutely do that, 100%.
Yeah, and I think, again, to your point, I think that some of it is very deliberate and intentional. And I wonder if some people, like, subconsciously, because you know, maybe they tie it, like, sometimes I'm like, are you talking about Jews or Israel? Because I don't even know if you know right now.
They don't.
From your perspective, how much influence does Israel actually have on, like, U.S. policy compared to other countries? Because that's one thing that I was like, they just seem to have a lot of influence on these things, which we can get into, like,
Specific thing.
the next question is, how do you view AIPAC relative to other, like, lobbying groups in America? And maybe you can explain what AIPAC even is, but do you feel like they have a lot of influence on U.S. policy compared to other countries?
So we're going to separate AIPAC and Israel influence.
Okay,
They're two separate things.
Okay.
Anyone who doesn't say that Israel has significant influence on U.S. policy is lying.
Huh?
Of course they do. Yes. Now we can look at why. And there are many, many reasons. Israel's the only democracy in the Middle East. It's the only one. They're the only ones with free and fair elections.
Yeah, you told me that.
They're the only ones that give women, gays, LGBTQ full rights. They're the only one that have freedom of speech, freedom of religion. It's the only democracy in the Middle East. So now we look at who is America allied with? Democracies, typically.
Yeah.
That's our allies. We ally with other democracies. And even when we go in, whether it's to Venezuela, when we go into, right now we're on the brink with Iran. When we go in to places, whether you agree with it or not, it's usually to try and make it more free and fair is what the typical message is. Obviously, there are other reasons as well, but we're not going into other democracies and trying to overturn things. Now, other questions and so many things we could take from this, but like we will try and influence elections in other countries. America has massively influenced elections in Israel historically and all over the world. So with that said, Israel is a very strong ally of America. The policies that are mostly influenced by Israel on America are Middle Eastern related. America's relationship with Iran, right? Thinking we should intervene there, prevent them from having nuclear weapons. There is absolutely significant influence from Israel to America and America to Israel. Ironically, a lot of Israelis want to remove that. They don't want to be dependent on America.
Interesting.
Bibi Netanyahu just announced very recently a $100 billion project to become militarily completely independent. So we don't have to rely on arms deals from America. We don't have to rely on America anymore in order to get shipments. So Israel and Jews do not want Israel to be reliant on America whatsoever. But also, there's significant influence for sure. It's a fact.
Yeah. What about in relation to other democracies, other countries?
It really depends. I think that the reason Israel has a significant, or one of the reasons Israel has such a significant influence is because it is surrounded by countries typically that have wanted to destroy it. And Israel is the only democracy in that area. And it's a hotbed of so many issues. So Israel has a significant amount of influence, largely as a result of that. Not to mention, and people love to gloss over this, like everyone loves to say Mossad is like the greatest and most intelligent security apparatus in the world. So they'll say that, but then they'll be like, but they're not helping the U.S. at all. It's like, of course they are. Like the U.S. gets incredible amounts of intelligence to protect America's citizens from Israel. So it's not just like this one-sided thing. There's a great deal of information sharing. U.S. military will go to Israel all the time and do joint practices together. So I can't say relative to others like UK, for example, how much influence, but you better believe like the UK also has significant influence over American policy. You better believe other nations have significant influence. Israel is unique in that it is a teeny tiny country in this.
Yeah, I didn't know how tiny, by the way.
Yeah, we'll put the picture up on the screen for people watching on Spotify video or on YouTube.
It's the size of New Jersey.
It's tiny. It's absolutely.
I kind of felt like an idiot that I didn't know that.
Most people who criticize Israel can't point to it on a map. They've never been there. It's absolutely tiny, but geographically, politically, it is a very, very important piece of land. And the fact that it is a democracy allows it to play a very strategic and important role. And so I think Israel plays a very important part in American policy. And America also plays a very important part in Israeli policy, just as it does all over the world.
Mm. There was one question I forgot. I don't want to blindside you.
Yeah.
Gaza.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Ask me anything.
Okay.
I think we should talk about AIPAC though. First,
okay.
Because that relates to this.
Yes. Okay. So then my separate two questions was correct. I blended them together, but they weren't on my list.
Yep.
Is how do you view AIPAC relative to maybe other lobbying groups in America, and maybe explain because I didn't know what it was.
Yep.
What AIPAC even is.
Yeah. So this is a great question. AIPAC is one of the first things that people will criticize, talk about. It's like one of the biggest things. The first thing I always ask is like, do you know what AIPAC stands for? And they can't even say it. Do you know what it stands for?
I remember seeing it, but I couldn't tell you off the top of my head.
American Israel Public Affairs Committee.
Yeah.
Okay. So I've done a lot of research on this. I've written down some notes that I want to discuss. This is very important. So number one, the mission of AIPAC is to strengthen U.S.-Israel relations through political advocacy, focusing on issues like security assistance to Israel and also to America so they can trade, promoting peace in that region, which has been historically littered with violence across every religion, across all these peoples. And then also another main part is countering threats from Iran, which are very real and very dangerous. And the people of Iran are suffering horrifically right now, with estimates of up to 30,000 plus innocent civilians being slaughtered by the regime. By the way, within a week or two. 30,000. I don't see anyone protesting on the streets. All these people who call themselves human rights activists, I don't see anyone protesting. So,
No.
now, the first thing that we have to discuss in terms of AIPAC as a lobby is many countries lobby within the USA, not just Israel.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's also misrepresenting what AIPAC is, but I'm going to get to that in a second. Qatar, Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, Japan.
Saudi Arabia Qatar gave Donald Trump an airplane.
That's the least of what they've given him.
I'm just saying, like, if they're doing that.
Hundreds of millions, but wait until you hear how much they've given him outside of that.
Wow.
You're going to shit. And I'm going to compare it to what AIPAC does. Okay. China, Turkey, Ukraine, they all lobby within the United States. It's very important. People just love, AIPAC's influence, AIPAC's influence.
Is China more for trade?
China is for everything.
Yeah.
Which is funny because a lot of people are like, well, China's an enemy. It's like, okay, and they're lobbying in the United States. We also, I believe, owe China a lot of money.
Yeah.
So what we have to understand, and this is where it's almost like misrepresenting AIPAC when we say other countries lobby in the United States. There is a key difference between a domestic ethnic-based lobby and foreign government lobbies. This is a very important distinction that many people have no idea. So AIPAC is a domestic ethnic-based lobby. And what that means is it is funded by and run by American citizens lobbying for stronger ties with Israel. It is American citizens. It is not run by the Israeli government. It is not run by Israelis. It is not funded by Israelis. It is funded and run by American citizens who have strong relations and want to have strong relations with Israel. They don't have to be Jewish. It's just people, Americans, many of whom are Jewish, want strong ties with Israel. So it is not Israel, and there have been so many investigations. It is not run by Israel or Israeli government. It has Israel as a government can have nothing to do with it. If they did, they would have to register under FARA, the Foreign Agent Registration Act. Other countries that have something similar to this, we have the Armenian Assembly of America, is a domestic ethnic-based lobby. We have the Cuban American lobby. We have Taiwan's Formosan Association, AIPAC, which is the Indian Political Action Committee. They're Greek American. They're Irish American. These are all domestic ethnic-based lobbies, people here in the United States who have strong relations, American citizens, strong relations with these other countries who lobby here in the U.S. for strong relations with these other nations. AIPAC is not the only one at all, nor is it the highest spender at all.
So when they talk about in Congress that every congressman, except for apparently Thomas Massey, or maybe he's a senator, has an AIPAC person, they're also having some of these other people.
Of course.
But they just want to
highlight one of them.
Yeah.
Correct. They have an AIPAC.
It almost made it sound like to me they follow them around and make sure they're not doing this and that. And like if they do, they'll get in big trouble, which maybe it's true if there's certain things they've agreed upon, but
no, so all of these lobbies have the ability to give money up to $5,000 to $10,000, I believe, to political candidates. And it's candidates that they support. It's $5,000 to $10,000 per candidate is the limit. It's not, they're not giving them hundreds of thousands of dollars. It's like, I believe, and I fact check me on it, about $5,000 to $10,000 per candidate that they can give them. Now, that's not all the money they can spend. They have super PACs in which they can spend more money on advertising, but they cannot give more than $5,000 to $10,000 per candidate. And they're giving it to people who they believe are proponents of Israel. The unique thing about AIPAC is it has a significant amount of influence because it has a lot of bipartisan support across the aisle.
Yeah.
Now, why would that be? I think because most people, as they progress in the government, they realize how important Israel is to the safety of the world. And in terms of their intelligence sharing, in terms of being the only democracy in that area, it is very significant. They're not the highest bidders. They're not the highest spenders by far. And we'll go through it. I have all the data. I encourage everyone to fact check me on it. But they are not the only ones who are giving money to candidates and pushing for people who have strong ties with the nation that they want a strong tie with. There are many others.
Yeah.
So then we have direct foreign government lobbies. And these are represented by, run by, and funded by the foreign government in question. These direct foreign government lobbies need to register under FARA, the Foreign Agent Registration Act, because they are direct agents of foreign nations. They are not U.S. citizens, whereas AIPAC and these other nations, the other ones I mentioned earlier, they are U.S. citizens, lobbying with the explicit intent of benefiting that nation. That's why they need to register under FARA, because it's a foreign agent. Now, who are some of the biggest ones under this? Qatar, Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, Japan, South Korea, China, Turkey, Ukraine. These are some of the biggest ones that are from these other countries. They are direct foreign agents funded by, represented by other countries. AIPAC is not. Now, I have a list of the amount of money that these PACs have spent, that these lobbies have spent, okay? Both in 2024 and for the last 10 years. I'm going to read them off for you, okay?
Okay.
We're going to start with AIPAC. I'm going to have you guess, how much do you think AIPAC spent on lobbying in 2024?
Millions? 10 million?
So it's sort of just like throwing out numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So they spent 3.3 million in 2024.
But that's across the whole board.
That's just for lobbying, and 3.3.
But also with the lobbying, this is where sometimes I get confused. You don't think, big alcohol is lobbying some of these people that say like, hey, drinking is like, this happens all the time.
Correct. And we'll discuss
the
that.
cigarette industry did it like bad. Like I'm kind of confused.
Wait until you hear about
Okay.
There's a lot. So we'll go through. So AIPAC, 3.3 million in 2024. The highest country, the highest amount of money spent by lobbying was Japan in 2024.
Interesting.
Guess how much they spent?
I have no idea.
48.5 million.
Wow.
In 2024 alone.
For what? Who knows?
Their interests. Who knows? Now I'm going to go through each one. Saudi Arabia, 44 million in 2024. And I encourage everyone fact check me on this. It's publicly available information, open secrets. It's publicly available. China, 32 million. Turkey, 26.7 million. Ireland, 26 million. United Arab Emirates, 23.4 million. South Korea, 25 million. Qatar, 20 million. Just in 2024. Now I'm going to take a handful of these and I'm going to do, because how much they spend lobbying annually can fluctuate. Let's look over the last 10 years since 2016. Just for a handful. AIPAC. Since 2016, AIPAC has spent $30 million lobbying. 30 million. Okay? United Arab Emirates. Since 2016, $246 million. South Korea, $327 million. Qatar, $260 million.
Wow.
AIPAC, $30 million in 10 years. And people say Israel is the one influencing, that AIPAC is the one influencing. And these are the people who say, follow the money. Follow the money.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
We're following the money. They have influence and they do spend money here. But if you want to have, it's like when people in fitness, they're like, insulin's the problem.
Yeah.
And they only focus on insulin, but they don't look at the entire system as a whole.
Yeah.
It's like
the insulin obesity whole thing.
Yeah. It's like
no, it's not that simple.
When you say that insulin is a fat storage hormone, it makes it seem like, oh, insulin's the problem. But when you actually look at how the actual whole system, whole body works, you're like, oh, okay, insulin's not the problem. And actually, without insulin, we die.
Yeah.
When we actually follow the money, not just one PAC, not just one lobby, when we follow all of it, now the argument falls apart. So, as you said, there are other lobbies too. So here are the biggest spender in lobbying in 2024, the National Association of Realtors, $86 million. National Association of Realtors, $86 million in 2024. The pharmaceutical and health industry, $384 million in total in lobbying in 2024. American Hospital Association, $31 million. The U.S. Chamber of Commerce, $80 million. So that's not to say that these are bad. That's to say that if you're going to look at who is the biggest influence, who has all of this influence, who is injecting money, who's paying off let's look at everybody. Let's break it all down. And when you actually look at who's injecting the most money, who's paying the most amount of money, AIPAC isn't even close. It is a fraction of a fraction of a fraction. And fact check me on that.
Fascinating. You came with some facts here. Did your research.
Trying.
I would have never guessed any of that. And that kind of blew my mind. So, okay,
it's not to say it doesn't have influence. It does. But relatively to other countries, which, by the way, and if we're talking about Tucker and Candace, Tucker's all about Qatar now.
Yeah.
And it is open information that he is one of his biggest funders.
You told me that and I looked into it. It's correct. Not that I didn't trust you.
Biggest funder.
If I'm going to tell people that, I'm like, well, my friend told me, and then I'm like, your friend's wrong. It's true.
It's true. His biggest funder is from Qatar.
And so it's interesting when you take a step back, because what I first saw was when Tucker left Fox, he finally got off the fucking, like, he was able to just talk.
Yep.
And I was like, oh, this is great. It's like Tucker uncensored, not, and then the more it went on, I'm like, or is Tucker also influenced by the money and calling the same people out for doing this, but he's doing the exact same thing?
Yeah. 100%, dude.
I don't even know what to believe anymore.
A few months ago, he was like, I'm not moving to Qatar. It's not like I would move there. He just bought a home there, or he's buying a home there.
Wow.
It's to say that he isn't influenced by it is you have to be blind to not realize that.
So that brings up kind of my next question. Well, one of them was, but I think the answer is unequivocally yes. I don't even know if we need to spend much time on that, which is, do you think social media exaggerate or blatantly lies about Israel and U.S. dynamics?
Not social media, individuals.
Ooh, good caveat there.
Individuals are either deliberately or unknowingly. One of my favorite things that I see individuals doing is they're like, hey, I used to be completely, I would say Israel is an apartheid state. I couldn't define what an apartheid state is. I don't know why I said that. Like, I was just told that and I just believed it. And then I've done research. I went there. I visited. I saw. And they're like, now I know. Like, I was wrong. So one of my favorite things was when people be like, oh, I actually did this research and it's not actually that way. Individuals, whether it's because they've been misled or lied to. And by the way, when they're being misled or lied to, it's always for the most fundamental, basic things. Like, they think that they're being told that innocent people are being slaughtered indiscriminately, and they're seeing horrible images from a war zone, which I don't know any war zone, by the way, that isn't horrific looking. I don't know any of it. And so they're appealing to their natural human emotions of saying, this shouldn't be happening. And we agree, this shouldn't be happening. And when we break down why it's happening, well, now we can actually get deeper and deeper and deeper into it and look at who's the real instigator, what's the real cause. But innocent people, Palestinians, Israeli, Iranians, Sudanese, they shouldn't be dying. But they play into their emotions of, you're a human and you don't want innocent people to die, and this is who's causing that death. It's the most simple, basic, intellectually lazy way of promoting it, and then so people believe it, and then they start talking about it.
Well, yeah, I guess on that note, because you see some of the images in Gaza, and I was like, damn, that's like disturbing. Like, they're wiping off but the same thing happened with Russia and Ukraine.
It's still happening.
And no one's talking about it anymore, though. They're like, moved on.
Correct.
I don't see it as much.
Yeah.
But I was watching little girls get, bombed or like, legs blown off. And I'm like, that's so sad.
It's horrible.
So with what's going on in Gaza, do you think how the Israeli government is going about it is correct?
It's a great question. And I'll start by saying some of my favorite content is there's a guy, many people, but one guy who's become very popular in Israel. He goes out, sits in public, similar to how Charlie Kirk used to do, and he'll have arguments with people, with Israelis, about what the government is doing. Is it right? Is it wrong? Should we be supporting it? What do you think they've done right? What do you think they've done bad? And it's just these long-form conversations with the people. And you'll see they have very differing beliefs. Some people are like, we're handling it the right way. Other people are like, this is completely inappropriate. This is not the right way. So there's all these different beliefs within Israel. I'll start by saying, I don't know what the right way would be. because you have, on October 7th, 23, thousands of terrorists pouring into Israel, killing 1,200 innocent people, taking 250 plus innocent hostages back into Gaza, which is among the most densely populated places on earth, with underground tunnel systems the size of the New York City subway system that all the terrorists are hiding in, hostages scattered all over Gaza. How do you, and Hamas refusing to give them back after they just slaughtered all these people. My question is, how do you get the hostages back? What do you do? Because negotiation's not working. So my question, people are like, well, they're handling it wrong. I'll say, what should they do? What would America do because if we look at the scale, that would be as if 30,000 people, let's say Mexico came across the border, killed 30,000 Americans and took 10,000 hostage. That's like the scale in terms of percentages. What would America do to Mexico if that happened?
Good point.
I don't know.
I don't know either.
I don't know what the right answer is, but I know they have hundreds of hostages. They just killed over 1,000 people. How do you handle it? And among Jews, among Israelis, no one can agree on what the right answer is because it's an impossible question. I will say this. Many people say, oh, they're trying to wipe them off the face of the earth. They want to get rid of the Palestinians. They want to get rid of the Gazans. Okay. If you agree that the Israeli military is among the strongest and most advanced in the world, then you understand that if they wanted to kill every last person in Gaza, on October 8th, it would have been over. It would have been done. They would have sent their Air Force over. They wouldn't have sent, why would they risk their soldiers' lives? They would have sent the Air Force in, dropped bombs all over Gaza. It'd be a parking lot in hours. If they wanted to kill every single person, it would have been done. Not to mention, if we're looking historically, in 2005, Israel had Gaza. It was Israel's territory. It won it from Egypt in I believe it was 1967. Okay, there was a war of aggression. Egypt, Jordan, Lebanon, numerous countries waged a war with Israel. Israel won against all odds, and it took various territory. It took Gaza, it took the West Bank from Jordan, Gaza from Egypt. Israel had that territory, and in 2005, in a very controversial move, the Prime Minister of Israel said, we're going to take every Jew out of Gaza. It is yours. Unilaterally. There was no deal. There was no anything that they had to reciprocate with. We're leaving. They took almost 10,000 Jews, both living and dead. They dug up graves. They dug up graveyards. They took every Jew out there. Here, do it. You have your own government, have your own elections. It's yours. And what did they do with it? Well, unfortunately, they had an election. Whether you could consider it fair or not is up to you. Hamas, a terrorist organization, wins, kills all of the opponents in the other major political group, Fatah. They killed them. They tied their bodies behind cars, dragged them all over the city. They spent billions of dollars on building underground tunnel systems, tunnel networks that they're still trying to dismantle, that connect to civilian homes, that connect to hospitals, that connect to schools. They built an entire tunnel network. Instead of they destroyed, Israel left greenhouses. Israel left so much infrastructure. They destroyed it. Instead of taking the money and investing in school, investing in hospital, investing in tech, they used the billions of dollars they get every year from around the world. And I'm not saying the innocent civilians of Gaza. I'm saying Hamas. I'm saying the terrorists, Islamic Jihad, these groups within Gaza. They took the money and they invested it to try to wipe Israel off the face of the earth because that's their stated goal. They want to kill it. And by the way, it's not just Israel. Israel's just first because it's right next to them. That after 9/11, who was celebrating 9/11? The people again, not all civilians, but those with radical Islamist ideology. There are videos of them celebrating in Gaza after 3,000 plus Americans were killed on 9/11, slaughtered on 9/11. So I don't know if that answers your question, But I don't know what the right answer is. Israel's lost over 1,000 soldiers trying to get the hostages back, restore peace in Gaza. And no Israeli had set foot in Gaza since 2005, before October 7th. They hadn't set foot in there. They weren't there. There was no apartheid. They had their own government. They're not Israeli citizens. They have their own thing. So I don't know what the right answer is.
How far is Gaza from Israel?
It borders it.
Like really close, right?
It literally
like New
touches.
Jersey and New York.
Yeah.
Like they touch.
They literally touch. Gaza has 2 borders.
So you drive right over. It's pretty easy.
Yeah, walk right over.
Yeah.
That's what they did. They literally tore down security fences, and first they started with trucks and they drove over the security fences, and then other people, unfortunately many of whom were civilians, just walked right over. They just walked. Gaza has 2 borders, one with Israel, and no one talks about this, but one with Egypt, because it used to be part of Egypt. Now people are like, oh, Israel has this security border with Israel. They don't let Palestinians in. It's like, well, number one, yes, they do. Many Palestinians, tens of thousands before October 7th, would come in every day and work. The money was better. It was safer. Egypt also has not only a security border with Gaza, they don't let anyone in. They don't let Gazans come in from Gaza into Egypt to work on a day-to-day basis. They have a more secure border. Why is that? Because the terrorist organizations within that community wreak havoc everywhere they go. In Jordan, in Lebanon, in Egypt, the radical ideology within and it's not all the civilians. Every single innocent civilian that dies is a fucking tragedy. It's horrific. I don't want kids to die in Gaza. I don't want Palestinians to die. And Israel doesn't want it either. If they wanted to kill every single Gazan, it would have been done on October 8th, 2023. Instead, they've lost over 1,000 soldiers, putting them in there on foot. Homes are booby-trapped. Schools are booby-trapped. Mosques are booby-trapped. Hospitals are booby-trapped. They're losing soldiers like crazy. And many Israelis are pissed about it. It was like, why are we doing this? Why don't we just bomb them? Because the government says that's not what we do. We need to go in, get these hostages, just as of the other day. Just the other day, the final hostage was brought home, the final one.
Do you think that's going to help?
No.
No.
It's been over 2 years, and it took that long. And he was dead.
Oh, he was dead.
He was murdered. They got his body back.
Oh.
It's not going to help. This is there are many things people say is like, what type of a war is this? Is it a war over land? Is it a religious war? What is it? If this is the easiest way to frame it, and many people get mad when I say it, but it is the truth. If Hamas, Islamic Jihad, whatever organization you want to look at, if they put down their weapons and focused on their community, there would be peace. If Israel put down its weapons, there would be no Israel. Now, that's not to say Israel has never done anything wrong. They've made a lot of mistakes. There are many things that they've done are wrong, and I will be the first to criticize it. But in terms of the big picture, there is one group that wants peace. There have been numerous, minimum of 5 big ones, 5 peace deals put on the table. Israel's accepted all 5. The Palestinian government has accepted 0. Because it is either they get all of the land or none of it. And when they have none of it, their goal is to kill everybody and then take over all the land.
Yeah, it's wild.
That's it.
I think that was a very in-depth answer because it is something that I think even the typical person is like, oh my gosh, because you see the footage and then you hear they're basically just blowing them into a parking lot. And there probably is a couple buildings that are a parking lot.
Many buildings. Many buildings. Many buildings have been blown up. Yes. But also remember, many of these buildings have been blown up not from Israeli bombs, but from their own booby traps that
I
they've set
was
up.
just about to ask that. Is some of that directly related to Hamas, though?
Of course. I mean, the entire thing is directly related to Hamas.
Well, yeah. I'm
course.
saying but some of the buildings just being bombed, like if you said they booby trapped places.
Dude, there are
they could just
Gazan civilians who have come out at risk of their own life, by the way. They've been killed by their own people, by Hamas. And as Hamas is slaughtering its own people right now, no social justice warriors, no people out protesting this. As Hamas kills it, Hamas would, because this is what Israel does. Israel drops leaflets before they bomb, and they say, we're going to bomb this building because we know that there have been terrorists here. We know they're using this as a base. They literally go out and they drop leaflets ahead of time, and they say, hey, just so you know, you need to get out of this building. What does Hamas do? They stand outside with guns and say, you're not allowed to leave the building, to the innocent civilians inside, because they use the deaths of those innocent civilians because they know it will get them support in the Western world, because any person with a good heart will say, that's wrong. Innocent people shouldn't be killed. Anyone with a good heart would say that. And Hamas will literally not allow them to leave. And if they leave the building, they get shot.
Yeah.
And then they'll blame it on Israel.
Interesting. I appreciate that answer, and hopefully it's always much more multifaceted than it seems.
Of course.
It's never like, so I guess kind of, well, I don't know if switching gears, but why this is something that I struggle with. Why do you think people, I struggle with in the fact of like being like, well, if everyone's doing it, and which everyone's not the correct word, but there's got to be some layer of truth, right? Why do you think some people end up blaming the Jews for so much, including things like even Charlie Kirk? Because, and again, we've talked about the distinction between Israel and the Jews, but now it's just like, no, it's the Jews, which then it becomes dangerous for people like you, because now it's not about the Israeli government, but they start blaming the Jews.
Yeah, dude, I mean, it's a wonderful question. And I'll start by saying, I wish I could know, and I can discuss the history of it. And I can discuss what we have to remember is let's define anti-Semitism. It's just hatred of Jews. You just hate Jews, right? Now, it is arguably the oldest form of racism, the oldest form of bigotry in the world. It has lasted for millennia, the hatred of Jews. And there are many reasons why people say that they hate the Jews, or maybe they won't say it, but I have a couple of my best guesses. If we look at the Jewish population from time immemorial, from the beginning, teeny tiny percentage of the global population, teeny tiny. So as of right now, Jews make up about 2% or less of the world population. Do you know how many Jews there are in the world?
No idea.
Do you know? We'll start like, there are about 2 billion plus Muslims. A little bit lower number of Christians, but close. 15 million Jews in the world.
Really?
15 million.
Wow.
So when you start to realize how small the community is, we still haven't recovered the numbers from the Holocaust. We are still not at pre-Holocaust levels. So historically, Jews have been a teeny tiny percentage of the population. And as a whole, not every individual. Keep in mind, I come from a broken family. My parents got divorced, horrible marriage. We really struggled with money growing up. I was financially very unstable. But as a whole, Jews have been very successful. Now, a lot of the times we've been successful. We can even look at Nazi Germany, especially Nuremberg laws pass, which does many things. Number one, it makes it so that Jews are not allowed to marry Germans, which, by the way, Jews were German until the Nuremberg laws, and then it revoked their citizenship. But can't marry pure-blood Germans. You can't go to hospitals, you can't go to parks, you can't go to schools, and you can't have certain jobs. Same thing, by the way, and a lot of people don't know this, that was true in America. Jews were not allowed to have certain jobs in America, which is why, actually, Jews and blacks were such allies during the civil rights movement. Because there was both serious oppression. Now, Jews did not suffer anywhere near as much as blacks did in terms of American history, in terms of slavery, in terms of the horrible things that were done to blacks here. But there was racist laws against Jews here. Again, not nearly close to what blacks endured. But we weren't allowed to have certain jobs. We weren't allowed to participate in, there were many restaurants that were like, no blacks, no Jews. And that was allowed. So Jews and blacks were strongly connected during the civil rights movement. It was just Martin Luther King Jr. was one of the biggest allies and proponents of Israel. When we look at the population size relative to the rest of the world and other populations, it's pretty wild to see how much success Jews have had. And a lot of the success is because, so for example, say, Jews control Hollywood. Well, one of the only jobs Jews could have during pre-civil rights was working in movies, working as actors, being musicians. It was one of the only jobs they could have. So they went into it and they said, we're going to be the best at it. And they did incredibly well. In Nazi Germany, Jews were one of the only jobs they could have was working in banks. That was one of the only jobs they could have. So what did Hitler do? He's like, and when they were in severe financial crisis, who controls the banks? It's like, well, this is one of the only fucking jobs we could have.
Yeah, you told me that.
You put us there. In every position that Jews are put in, for whatever reason, we've been very fortunate and very blessed to succeed. Now, let's extrapolate this out just outside of Jews. When someone is very successful, what happens?
What?
People start hating on them.
Yeah.
Like, as soon as someone, like, look at Jeff Bezos. He started Amazon from his garage. Like looking up the picture of when he first started, it was this teeny tiny little room with a shitty little computer, and no one cares. But as soon as he starts making a lot of money, as soon as he starts succeeding, it's very easy to hate him. And we see this on smaller levels with someone who's just a personal trainer or whatever. Then all of a sudden they start building an audience, start doing very well.
Yeah.
Fuck that person.
Yeah.
Fuck that person. Because people who are not as successful, it's very easy to start blaming the more successful. So I think that a large part of it is because despite everything that Jews have faced, no matter what we're put in, no matter what situation, we've made the best of it. We have typically strong family units. Again, not my personal experience growing up, but typically very strong family unit, very strong communities. We support each other, and we've done very, very well, largely on the whole, as a community. So that's why I think it's just a very easy thing. The other aspect is if you look at historically, again, Jews are a teeny tiny percentage of the population. The fact that Jews are still around is a miracle. It doesn't make sense. Some of the greatest empires of the world have risen and fallen, and Jews are still here. The Seleucids tried to get rid of Jews. The Romans, the Roman Empire, one of the greatest empires, arguably the greatest empire ever, tried to get rid of Jews. Jews survived. The Romans aren't here anymore. The Byzantine Empire, not here anymore. All these empires, Ottoman Empire, Babylonian Empire, they've all risen and fallen. Jews are still here. It doesn't make sense. It's one of the things that's one of the things that has brought me closer to God. I'm like, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
The fact that the Nazi Empire, it doesn't make sense. A lot of people God can't be logical. I'm like, well, one of the things that has brought me closer to God is this logical discussion of like, this doesn't make sense that Jews are still here. And despite everything they've faced, they've been able to do very well.
Yeah.
And when people do well, people hate on them. It's a very easy, again, intellectually lazy way to blame someone else for your own problems. That's exactly what we saw in Nazi Germany. It's what we've seen many, many times. It's what we're seeing now.
It's interesting. Yeah, this is fascinating. I'm asking these. I'm just learning a lot as I'm asking you questions. Jordan came with some facts and some homework here. So even with like the Charlie Kirk thing, which obviously you don't know the answer, but immediately it's tied back to that.
Mm-hmm.
And as much as she wants to say there's proof, I have yet to see sound proof.
No, she hasn't provided any proof.
A source told her, Jordan.
A source. Someone emailed me. Oh, good.
A source told me, and I'm like, but that's not good enough for me, though. Like, I need to see like a text, a phone call recording, something. So it's very interesting how but the reality is, and I shared this with you, there was a guy that I know, casual at best, But his following started blowing up when he started criticizing Israel
Mhm.
and even the Jews. He made a direct reel saying, hey, I've never said anything about Jewish people. That's different than Israel. Just most people in Israel happen to be Jews. But he said, like, funny how your account starts blowing up when you start talking about these things.
Hmm.
And I'm like, well, then probably there's a reason for you to keep talking about it.
Yeah, it's giving you incentives, which, by the way, that man's own argument disproves the idea that Jews control the media.
Oof. Yeah.
Because if Jews control the media, if Jews controlled social media, then why wouldn't we just fucking shut down your reach as soon as you start talking about us?
Yeah.
By his own argument, disproves that whole myth.
It's actually very true. Very wise there. Any thoughts on the Epstein files being tied to Israel or the Jews?
That's a wild one. So, where to begin with that? So, let's see. I'm definitely not going to pretend to be an expert on the Epstein files, I think, or on Epstein in general. But I will say this. There is without question that Epstein had ties to Israel. That's not a myth. That's a fact.
Yeah.
He had direct ties to Ehud Barak, so much so, Ehud Barak, former prime minister of Israel, so much so that Netanyahu in the 2019 election used that against him in the Israeli election.
Oh.
So it is not something that Israelis aren't aware of. It's not something that that is a myth. That is a known fact. He had ties to Israel. And again, let's look at the whole picture, though. So people, oh, look, he had ties to Israel. Clearly, this is an Israeli psyop. This is Mossad, whatever.
Mossad, yeah, I've seen that.
Who else does he have ties to? And I have a list of just a couple of people no one brings up. Tony Blair, former UK Prime Minister.
Oh.
Ties to Jeffrey Epstein. Prince Andrew from the UK.
Mm-hmm.
Ties to Jeffrey Epstein. Mohammed bin Salman, Saudi Crown Prince. Andre Arango, the former Colombian president. Now, Jeffrey Epstein was Jewish. And I don't know any Jew that supports what that evil man did. Jew, Israeli, none. Evil man doing evil things.
Yeah.
Pretty safe to say, not a religious Jew.
Yeah.
Pretty safe to say.
Yeah.
Now, I have no idea. The conspiracy part of me thinks like that would be a great person to have on your side to
do this whole blackmail operation.
Of course, the conspiracy. I have no proof, but also I'm like, yeah, that would make sense.
Okay,
I have no idea. I have no clue, but also like that would make sense to me. I don't support it. I don't know any Jew or Israeli that does. But I also think it is doing a disservice to say, oh, ties to Israel, so it must be. It's like, well, what about his ties to high-level, high-ranking people in every other country, not to mention our own country?
Yeah.
Like, to our own country, to the leaders right here in the United States. He has ties everywhere.
Yeah.
So why are we ignoring all of those?
Do you think that, so what I've heard is that was the greatest blackmail operation of all time. And because of that, that's why Israel has such time, which can you make that make sense for me? Because that's what I was told was, well, that's why we have to bend the knee to Israel at every single thing and do what they say, because they have all this stuff on us. And I was like, so what would they do? And they're like, release it. And it would collapse everything.
No. Dude, so many horrible things have happened that have come out that we learn the truth of. And what happens? It's on the news for a day, and then that's it.
Yeah.
It wouldn't collapse at all. That's just like you release that, and then, oh, look, who was on the list? Okay. It wouldn't collapse anything. And at this point, I don't think people would be surprised at who's on the list. They'd be like, nope, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Then what? We riot? Like, what happens then? No, I don't think in any way, shape, or form that is enough of a blackmail to say, yeah, this is going to collapse. I don't think that has as much power as people think it does.
Yeah. So there's no legitimate proof of that. Is that correct?
No. There is legitimate proof of ties to Israeli officials, especially notably Ehud Barak. But again, there are direct ties to massive leaders of countries all over the world.
Yeah.
So it's
including here in the United States.
Including here in the United States.
Yeah. Some pretty prominent people.
Correct. So if you think that that's the only one that other people don't want it released, that they're the only ones with influence, you're out of your mind.
Well, and I think it also does a little bit of disservice to those poor victims that had to go through that shit. That it's like,
100%.
oh, you were just part of a blackmail operation. Who cares? And I could. This has nothing to do with Israel. I just think like there's a reason why they're not releasing the full files. And at this point, it's just those poor girls went through a lot, and there's a lot of sick people in the world and sick people with power.
Mm-hmm.
And I've heard that, and I asked a buddy who was so passionate about it, and he said it just is. And I was like, well, that's not a good enough fucking answer for me.
It just is what?
Like
a blackmail operation.
Yes.
It just is.
It's so obvious. Look at the facts.
Yeah,
I'm like,
great answer.
so like you said, okay, that might make sense.
I need
but I
proof.
struggle with things that are just hyperbole, right?
Yes. Yeah, as you should.
Yeah.
As any logical, critical thinker should. And any time, in any situation, dude, when people are like, it's the carbs, let's look at the whole picture. Anytime someone says it's just, this is the correlation, this is the one thing, this is the only thing we should focus on. No, it's not. Let's look at everything. Because when we start putting everything together, we start to see the whole picture.
Well, and also, let's not like release blame from, Pam Bondi for saying like the files are on my desk, and then she was like, "Oh, that's not what I meant." And like
Kosh Patel,
they ran on releasing these.
Yep. Correct.
And so now it's like almost giving them off the hook to be like, "Well, it's Israel."
Correct.
I'm like, no, what I've been so pissed about with that was I was like, whoever had the influence on the bottom line is they ran on telling us that they were going to release these things. And I've been very disappointed in that.
Yeah. That was the promise. We are going to, day one, we're releasing these things. Nope.
And then so just to give them a cop out and say, well, it must be, they're grown ass adults and they're not doing it for some reason. It's probably because it's going to implicate a lot of people.
Without question.
Like, it's not just because somebody's going, okay, like hanging this carrot over the head that, so that whole theory, just by the way, they kind of collapses on its head because why wouldn't the Israeli government just if they had the power to release it and the Israeli government's telling them, no, you can't, but we'll release it if you don't act like we want you to, like, it just doesn't make sense.
Right. It's a great point. It's like, why would then blame it on Israel?
Yeah.
It's like, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it doesn't. Okay. Yeah, that whole thing. And the reality is he was a sick son of a bitch, and who knows who was influencing him, but it's probably much deeper than our little brains can even comprehend.
Dude, without question. I could never go into politics, dude.
No.
I don't believe anyone high up in politics. I think it's impossible to get high up in politics without being corrupt, morally bankrupt.
Yes.
It's impossible.
100%. See a lot of people leaving. I appreciate you answering these questions. And yes, I'll just admit it. So like, you do have influence on me because I respect the man you are and you're educated and you've always admitted when you were wrong. And so, yes, maybe I was influenced a little by our conversation, but because you come with facts and you educated me a shit ton on that call, which I appreciated. But when we look at where do you think, because this is something I've been thinking about even on the plane today, where do you think the line is between legitimate criticism of Israel and then it bleeds into full-blown anti-Semitism? It's
a great question. It's a valid question. And if you ask 10 different Jews, you're going to get 50 different opinions, just so you know. Yeah. It's crazy. So you'll get, and I'll give you mine. Just like I said, I don't know a single Jew or a single Israeli who doesn't criticize Israel or the Israeli government. Not one. They all do. There is no issue with criticizing the Israeli government or the state of Israel. No issue. I think there are a couple things to be aware of. Number one, if your criticisms of Israel If you do not, if your criticisms of Israel do not carry over to other countries doing the same things or worse, you might be anti-Semitic. If you do not hold other countries by the same standard you are holding Israel of, you might be anti-Semitic. If you don't believe that Israel has a right to exist, period, you might be anti-Semitic, which is, it's the only country that people say, doesn't have a right to exist. It's the only one. I don't know any other country. Oh no, this country, that country, no right to exist whatsoever. It's the only one. I'll also say this. If you say I'm not anti-Semitic, it's not Jews, it's just Zionists. That is the easiest way to say that you are anti-Semitic. And the simplest way for me to express this is anytime I have this conversation, I'm not anti-Jewish, I'm just anti-Zionist. What is a Zionist? They can never answer. Do you know what a Zionist is?
No, I've heard just somebody who has a strong allegiance to Israel is influenced by them. But no, I feel like, is it a made up term?
No, it's a real term.
I mean, I just hadn't even heard it until the last year.
Yeah, exactly right. So Zionism is the belief that Jews have the right to self-determination in their ancestral homeland.
Oh.
That's it. It's just that you believe Jews have the right to self-determine themselves where they originally came from. Now, you know who spoke about this a lot, who's one of the biggest supporters of Israel, is Charlie Kirk. There isn't a single shred of evidence that points to Jews not being originally from that land. Not one. All the archaeological evidence, all the historical evidence very clearly shows that's where we're from. And it's even part of the language. And I will show you, not even just in Hebrew, but in Arabic. Where do Japanese people come from?
Japan.
Japan. Where do Italians come from?
Italy.
Where do Indians come from?
India.
Where do Jews come from? Judea.
Oh.
Have you heard of the West Bank?
Yes.
Do you know what the West Bank, the original names are?
No.
Judea and Samaria.
Is that in like biblical times? Pardon my ignorance.
Yeah. Yep. Judea and Samaria. Those are the original names. So Japanese are from Japan. Italians are from Italy. Indians are from India. Jews come from Judea. Now, one of the reasons it's often called the West Bank is because they want to take away the knowledge of what it's actually called. Let me ask you this. This is funny. Most people don't know this. What side of Israel, north, south, east, west, is the West Bank on?
Well, I would guess the West, but probably not by the question.
You'd guess the West. The West Bank is on the eastern side of Israel. And why is that? Because the West Bank doesn't describe its relation to Israel. It describes its relation to Jordan. The West Bank used to be the most western point of Jordan until Jordan and other nations, Egypt, Lebanon, etc., attacked Israel. Israel retook that land after the war in 1967, and people call it the West Bank, even though the actual name is Judea and Samaria. Now, where are Arabs from originally?
Where are they from?
Arabia.
Arabia. Yeah, I was going to say that, but I was like, that doesn't sound right.
That's where they come from. Arabia. It's in the name. Italians, Italy.
But
Japanese, Japan.
Yeah.
Arabs originally come from Arabia. That's where they originally come from. I'm assuming you've heard of the Arab conquest, in which Arabs took over large swaths of land, including they came over to that area. Now, how do you say Jew in Arabic?
No idea.
Yehud. And where does Yehud come from? Yehudia. Judea.
Oh.
Yehudia is Judea in Arabic. They did the same thing that we all do. Japanese, Japan, Italians, Italy, Indians, India, Jews, Judea, Yehudia, Yehud. Even as part of the language from thousands of years ago, it tells us that is where Jews are originally from. And if you are a Zionist, you don't have to be Jew to be a Zionist. In fact, Biden, he's like, I'm a Zionist. He said it very clearly. You don't have to be Jewish to be Zionist. All you have to do is say you support the rights of people to live and self-determine in their indigenous homeland. The idea that Jews don't have a right to live there It would be like saying Native Americans don't have a right to live in the United States. That's how ridiculous it is. Now, it says being a Zionist does not mean other people can't live there. It doesn't mean other people are second-class citizens. Again, Israel is the only place in the Middle East with freedom of religion. They have 2 million Arabs living in Israel, many Muslim, many Christian. Freedom of if you go to Israel, mosques all over the place. You could hear their calls to prayer all day, every day. Tons of Christians, tons of Muslims, tons of Baha'i. The Baha'i gardens are in Israel. Tons of Buddhists. It's the only place in Israel with freedom of religion, freedom of speech, freedom of expression. If you are a Zionist, you just believe that since Jews are originally from there, they have a right to self-determine in the land they're originally from. And if someone says, and they know this, and they know that, but I'm still anti-Zionist, then you can't claim to be anti-colonial. Because Zionism is the largest and oldest anti-colonial project in the world, bringing back Jews from where they were originally from over 3,000 years ago. Now, not to mention, I'm not against Jews, I'm just against Zionists. 95% of Jews are Zionist. So what you're saying is, I'm not against Jews, I'm just against 95% of the Jews.
Yeah.
I don't hate Jews, I just hate 95% of you. I don't think that's the side you want to be on. I don't think that's the flex that you think it is.
Well, and I think the term has been bastardized because that's not what I thought it was.
Yes.
Last question, man. And I think like one of the most important, well, for me at least, is have you felt like your family's been legitimate danger because of the rise in anti-Semitism?
Yes.
And how can we support that better?
Without question.
Like, absolutely have.
Oh, yeah. Death threats.
So I remember a couple of years ago, you made a video. I don't know if we were talking about it or maybe you talked about it on social. It was when you were in the old place downtown and you had a flag of Israel and America behind you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And like some people said some wild shit to you about that flag.
Oh, dude.
And I didn't get it at the time. I was like, that's weird. Who cares?
Yeah.
He's lived in Israel. He's Jewish. Who cares? Little did I know. I was like, oh, wow, there's a whole thing. And people were, I mean, like death threats for having a flag.
Yeah, and it's only intensified. Now, first, after October 7th, the vast majority, not the vast majority, literally all of the death threats, everything that I got was from the far left. After October 7th, they've very much identified with the Palestinian cause, which, for whatever it's worth, Israelis identify with that too. We don't want Palestinians to die. We want peace with them.
I think that's really important.
Very important. And there are some Israelis who are gross.
Of course
There's some Jews who are gross, and they absolutely, but the vast majority want peace. Now, after Charlie Kirk was assassinated, then I started getting it from the right. And largely due to Candace and Tucker, Nick Fuentes, in terms of
awful.
He's terrible. So now this is what's called horseshoe theory, where people think the political spectrum is just one line. There's the far left on one side, far right on the other. It's actually more like a horseshoe where the far left and the far right meet.
Yep.
And they become very close together.
I've heard that.
And they meet at anti-Semitism. They meet at Jew hatred. The far left will disguise it under anti-Zionism. The far right just says it, Jews. They just call it what it is.
Yeah.
But they both agree on that one thing, that at the end of the day, they don't like Jews. So I almost forget what the question was.
Have your family been in danger? Like
Yes.
felt legitimate?
Dude, 100%. Absolutely. Yes, it is something that is constantly on our mind all day, every day. I literally just went to New York City to give a presentation to a group in the Jewish community. 80 Jews came because they were like, we are very scared and we didn't know how to defend ourselves. We didn't know how to protect our families. Dude, I mean, Jews all over the world, whether it's in Bondi, whether it's here in the United States, all over the world. In the UK, they're being targeted. They're being targeted at their synagogues. They're being targeted at their schools. They're like Jewish schools in the UK. Oftentimes they release their students not at the same time every day, because if they release them at the same time, then people who attack them will have a much better idea of when to go attack. So they literally stagger the times at which they'll release their students. And by the way, if it's not Jews and just Israel, then why are you attacking synagogues? Why are you attacking Jewish people in the United States? Why are you attacking Jewish people in Australia? If it's not Jews, if it's just Israel, then why are you attacking Jews?
Mm-hmm.
You're outing yourself.
Because it's not just about Israel.
It's not just about Israel. Correct. Yeah. I mean, and I'm
like, do you have to block people all the time on your Instagram?
I rarely block people. I like to know who my enemy is. I like to know who they are. I've had to submit reports to the FBI based on what people have said, what they know about me, like the threats they've made. I've had to submit. Yeah, absolutely. For sure. And, my wife, it's difficult when you have kids in a family. She's like, should we take our, the mezuzah on the door, the thing on the door panel? It's very clearly like it's a Jewish thing. It's like, should we take that down? There have been times where if I'm out in public, sometimes I'll be wearing my kippah, my yarmulke. If I'm by myself, I wear it. If I'm with my family, sometimes I'll take it off just so they're not targets.
Wow.
Absolutely, dude. It is. And I literally just got licensed as a licensed security guard through the state of Texas that I can be at my daughter's school so that I can be there to protect. And now we are involved with we have more direct connection with legitimate security threats. We get more alerted of threats that have been made, threats that are active all day, every day.
Wow.
Constant threats being made against the Jewish community where we live and all over the country and all over the world. So yes, absolutely. Now, you said, what can we do to help? Number one, I would say you should not feel obligated to speak on anything you don't want to speak about.
Yeah.
I don't want anybody to be like, I stand with the Jews. Like that doesn't really help for whatever it's worth. Just to say, like, make a social media post, I stand with the Jews. Like, that's not helping.
Well, we see that going on right now.
We see it all over. It doesn't help. And I don't think it's appropriate to be like, I need you to make a stand on social media and say, like, hey, do you stand with the Jews? No, I don't need that. I think the best thing you can do is when you're confronted with it from other people, number one, don't get angry. Be open and curious and have a facilitated this conversation. Point them to me and I'll have a conversation with them. And call your Jewish friends. Say, hey, are you okay? Like, I just made a whole podcast about ICE, what's happening with ICE. I have a number of friends who are Hispanic. I have a number of friends who are immigrants. I'm calling them. Are you okay? What's going on? Like, do you need to talk? I think that is one of the most important things you can do. If you have a friend or someone, a colleague, someone you know that is in facing a difficult situation, just let them know you're there to talk. Let them know. That means everything. Yeah. And when you're faced with it in person, that's when I think, I don't think anger is the right response depending on the level of whatever you're facing. But open dialogue and communication is, I think, the greatest thing that anybody can do. I
was going to say, and I want to encourage you guys, like if you're a lot like me and maybe have never been super into it, but I wish I would have called Jordan sooner and just said, hey, like, run me down with this because I'm confused.
Mm-hmm. And now you know. Now you know you can.
Yeah.
Anytime.
Yeah. And I will, because I also find it very interesting. There is so much history that I had no idea about, and I think that most people don't.
Correct. Yeah.
And that's scary. And then it does hit a little closer to home when someone you love, I'm like, dude, you're getting fucking death threats? Like, that's not okay.
It's crazy. It's insane.
So I really appreciate you answering all those questions in this open dialogue. I hope that like it's my podcast. I hope you guys got some out of that because I wanted to ask the questions that I even asked some of my friends. I'm like, what questions would you want to, and so some of those came from, one or two of them came from them where they're like, ask him this because I'm confused.
And listen, I have a lot of people from all religions, all places, all over the world. I have a significant number of people who are Jewish who follow me as well. And my message to you is don't shut down conversation by immediately calling it anti-Semitic.
Yeah.
It actually makes it worse. Absolutely. Call something out if it's anti-Semitic. But if someone's asking a question and you respond with anger and say, well, that's anti-Semitic. I'm not answering that. I'm not having this discussion. You're making it worse.
Yeah.
Be open to the conversation. If you don't know the answer, say, I don't know. Let me find out for you. Let me point you to someone who does know. Not every single Jew knows all this information about Israel, knows all this information about history. Not everyone knows that. That's okay. But if you shut down the conversation, that doesn't look good. And if you just label someone an anti-Semite because they had a legitimate question, that's not helpful.
Amen. Because that's how we got into a very, what I think was a productive conversation that started with curiosity and like asking questions on both sides.
Agreed. Brad, where can people follow you?
At The Sober Bodybuilder on Instagram. And YouTube, same thing.
Your
And my
podcast?
podcast is called The Brad Jensen Show. I rebranded.
Oh, you renamed it?
Yeah, yeah.
Nice.
Wanted to not speak on behalf of the company as much
Yeah.
because there's like something and 750 episodes in, dude, you don't want to talk about fitness all the time. So like it's still a lot about health and fitness and optimization, but just wanted to speak more freely about things that I have opinions on that I wanted to, like, this is on behalf of Brad Jensen, not my company and not my coaches. So
I love that.
Yeah. The Brad Jensen Show on all platforms. So thank you so much, bro.
We'll put the link to all that in the show notes. Dude, thank you. I love
Thank
you, brother.
bro. Love you too, man.
Thank you, everyone, for listening. I hope you enjoyed it. Please make sure you go follow Brad, shoot him a message, let him know. I mean, especially his stories about his overcoming addiction, stories about sobriety, and then also the questions about Jews, Israel. Thank him for coming on. It means the world to me. Make sure you follow him. Have a wonderful week. I'll talk to you soon.